Molweni. Good morning everybody. Ba abantu abalapha unobagqiba bonke. Banthe molo meya neKingdom. Ndibulisa everybody. The Council of Churches yethu bayikhona apha. Ikhona ke into singekayiqapheli. Kuba when we sing in national anthem, akho nto ithi masenze up and down. Funeke sibe kwi-attention all of us ukuhombela umhobe wesizwe. Inga noba zeziphi indawo esikuzo ingakhona lonto apha ezingqondweni zethu. Ukwehla unyuka ube ngathi nawe uyaculisa iproblem le. I'm raising this for future. Apha ngaphakathi sinabantu abohlukeneyo, abanye ngabe business counselors, church leaders, nendwendwe ke sinazo ezoqhuba lo mcimbi lo msebenzi. Quickly ndingatsho kwi business sector ukhona uMr Gcume ngunobhala kwabalapha. Just wave your hands where you are. Ndimbonile uGingqi uphanga semva from PSG, uMr Ncoyile. Ndimbonile utata uDosini ongomnye onobusiness nokasebemkatsha ubovu phakathi kwethu bracket. Ndingangabazi, just wave your hands wherever you are. Thank you. Masitsho into kokubana bakhona abanye onobusiness abanxibe okanye that wearing another hat. Ukhona utata Mashaba oyi-HOD kwa-LED, ukhona uMr Mjogovana oyi-manager kwa-LED, ukhona uMr Kwaziwa oyi-manager in the mayor's office. Sinaye uCouncillor Zathi phakathi kwethu, just wave your hand. The two khange baziphangamisa izandla uMr Mashaba noMr Mjogovana noMr Kwaziwa. Where's Mr. Mashaba? Thank you. I think umelu namhlanje because andiyibonanga enye senior official ngaphandle kwakho. Sinaye uCouncillor Zathi okwa Ward 18, Ward Councillor pha. Ukhona uCouncillor Mqopho, niyababona zinkokheli? Ukhona uCouncillor Mqopho, ukhona ngokwa Ward 2, ukhona uCouncillor Bezani, ukhona uCouncillor Mnyayiza, ukhona uCouncillor Mgudu wakwa 14 apha kwindawo yesiganeko abantu abayi-18. Bona uzothi ngexesha lakhe kwenzeke yake hambi into le. Kuhamba abantu abayi-18 kuthiwa Lusikisiki engobozani. Ukhona uHonorable Somani responsible MMC okanye portfolio head wakwa human settlement Macuda. Ukhona Honorable Jamjam responsible with special programs SPU. Ukhona Honorable Mvulani okhokhele local economic development and planning. Ukhona Honorable Mhlongo responsible for public safety. Ininzi ke lana ntsika namaphoyisa apha nezikolo zipha. Ixana zilela department yona department enkulu. Sinazo iCTWs ezikhoyo apha, singaphakamisa izandla kuzo ndawo zikuzo. Thank you. Ukhona Honorable Mayor uphakathi kwethu, all of us we know her. Just wave your hand, Mayor. Thank you. I-tax industry, I'm sure ikhona apha, we can just phakamisa izandla zethu apho sikhona. Sinayo iKingdom phakathi kwethu. that led by Chief Mtuchane, kube ngu-Chief Nhlane, kube ngu-Nkosi Gwedini, kube Mr. Mgilani, who's also a part of the Kingdom Committee, awubuye futhi abe kwi-business, kube ngu-Prince Dr. Mangcotywa, nansi itafule yabo ngeni baphakamise izandla. I wanted to do this before bakhona omama pha bakwi-business abahleli nomama uMakhawula nomama uSisibi bangaphakamisa izandla kulaa ndawo abahleli kuyo. Enkosi kakhulu, khona ikhwezi laseNguza siyalazi noba sisiqi saseNguza whatever okanye igama ongabanika lona. Ngokwenzeka nje ke besenzela into yokuba her worship makazazi uba ngobani aba azobe ebamkela angamkeli abantu angabaziyo, but there are other guests ezizokwaziswa nazo ngexesha elithile. Ubrigadier Waka andimazi noba uhlambe ngento enjani, ukhona pha ubrigadier Waka ustation commander walapha. Amanye amaphoyisa olukhona utshintsho njengoba ekhona uqinisekisa uba ulwa necrime kule ndawo kho phakame bakubona ebrigadier bakwazi abanye mhlawumbi. Nankuya kuthiwa abantu abafishi ke ngomdengentonga. Siyabulela kakhulu that you are also amongst us. Licela ke Mayor uze ngaphambili leadership uzokwenza amazwi okusamkela kule ndawo uyibanjisiweyo ngurhulumente we-African National Congress. Singamphakamisa ngengoma. Kwathuleka out of order. Oh, sorry. Xolo. Ngoba before ke umeya inxaka amagosa ngakwenza iloza ebuzazi boloyilo ngaphamba umeya ngene khona ivideo ezoqale idlalwe sithi nje ukunika iattention kuyo. Ndicela ke ukunikela kuni bahlonipheki bazodlala le video.
Welcome. Let me take you on a breathtaking journey as we explore the beautiful world of Ingquza Hill Municipality in the Eastern Cape of South Africa. Before we continue, let's have a word from the mayor.
Welcome to Ingquza Local Municipality. I am Nonkosi Pepping, the mayor of the municipality. The municipality has a natural beauty. This is the safest place for people to come and see the natural beauty. We welcome everybody in the area of Ingquza, hoping everybody will come and explore the area.
Thank you. Welcome to the largest tea plantation in the Southern Hemisphere. This is the Magwa Tea Plantation. With more than 2,000 hectares of tea expertly planted and nurtured by the indigenous Mpondo people. The Magwa Tea Plantation is not only a beautiful tourist attraction, but also poses a viable eco-friendly investment opportunity. Come over to Magwa and experience the beauty and taste of our tea. Surrounded by incredible dense indigenous flora and fauna, characterized by a smooth flowing river and water gushing down a straight vertical drop. This is the majestic Magwa Falls. Hailed as the centerpiece of development in the Magwa area and with a breathtaking view, this is one attraction you definitely need to come and experience. Welcome to Zalu Hill Multipurpose Center, a place where the locals handcraft their pieces expertly and do their sewing exquisitely. With such beautiful pieces on display and for sale, this is no doubt Lusikisiki's Center of Creative Arts Excellence. This attraction has unsurpassed natural beauty, coupled with spectacular views of the Indian Ocean. Let me introduce you to one of Eastern Cape's marvels. This is Mboki Beach. It has unspoiled terrains, great accommodation, as well as hiking trails to suit everyone. It is a place of untamed beauty. This is definitely one magical beach you need to come and relax at. As you cruise through the open grasslands, the uninterrupted views give one a calming sense of freedom. Welcome to Mkhabati Nature Reserve, spanning over 7,720 hectares and adjacent to the Indian Ocean. This nature reserve is the home of biodiversity, as it boasts a diverse wild animal population. It also boasts a great bird species together with a beautiful protected vulture colony. The reserve also has amazing and vast marine life. Do reserve some time to experience this beautiful reserve. Ingquza Hill is home to a rich history. This memorial site commemorates the June 6, 1960 massacre, where 11 people lost their lives in their pursuit of freedom against the apartheid regime. We celebrate and remember the sacrifices for freedom by Amampondo men and women through these monuments. The local people are warm, interesting, accommodating, and always happy to share their place of paradise with visitors, so when in the area, be sure to stay at the local homestays where you will definitely feel at home. Like a beautiful sneak peek, these are falls you will definitely fall in love with. When viewed from the first vantage point, they create the impression that the water is flowing straight out of the tunnel or cave. These are the magnificent Fraser Falls. For more magnificent views, come to Lusikisiki and experience this rare natural beauty. Recreation is also at the forefront of activities to do in Ingquza Hill. If you are thinking of bringing your team to a camp, train or play in a peaceful environment, then the Lusikisiki Stadium is a great place for you. Fully equipped with an artificial turf, you are assured that the pitch will always deliver a world-class playing surface. Welcome to the Holy Cross Mission. It was established in 1911 by the Anglican Church and was named the Mission of the Holy Cross. It includes the church, the Holy Cross Hospital, and post office, among others. Holy Cross boasts having been the breeding ground for such luminaries as the late ANC President O.R. Tambo. He was baptized, confirmed, and passed his higher primary education at Holy Cross. Early in 1993, Tambo also found his way back to Holy Cross. Not only is this place of great historical significance, but it is also currently home to a 224-bed provincial hospital. This is indeed a holy place that ensures one's spiritual and physical well-being. Imagine a waterfall falling directly into the ocean. Well, imagine no more, because right here in Lusikisiki, tumbling from the high cliffs straight into the Indian Ocean, this is the spectacular Waterfall Bluff. Come and enjoy this natural wonder and cool off in the midst of this amazing waterfall. Majestically rising out of the sea is the freestanding, pyramid-shaped, iconic Cathedral Rock. This amazing sight resembles a dramatic stack rising out of the sea with an arc in the center. Viewing this rock live should be on everyone's bucket list. This is just a glimpse of the paradise, the natural untapped beauty that awaits you in the Ingquza Hill area, in the Eastern Cape of South Africa. Come and experience it. We look forward to hosting you soon.
Enkosi, thank you very much. Masicele uba abantu bakwa information and publicity okanye abantu bafotayo sibanike ithuba singabi si-photographer all of us because kukhona ukuphithizela okuninzi. Asihloniphe inhlanganiso sizame nje ukuhlala kakuhle singahle sinyuka. Siyacela kakhulu. Masi acknowledge ukuba ukujoyinwa uformer mayor lapha uvalela nako nje just wave your hand and valela ungaphakamisa isandla mkhulweni nje bakubone ngumfundisi ngoku andithi akanxibelanga into yoba eyayo ebantwini. Enkosi, thank you very much leadership uba ukwazi usijoyine. Bendicela nje siphe izandla obekekileyo ngexa ezawusiphakameni obekekileyo usodolophu wethu. Come forward leadership. Except leadership yobukhosi, they can sit down but sorry. Lombuto siyawazi siselokuna saxabana sodwa sise eyense siyayazi sizelwe khona saxabana sodwa sise Lombuto siyawazi sizelo khona saxabana sodwa size eyense siyayazi sizelwe khona saxabana sodwa size Lombuto siyawazi sizelo khona saxabana sodwa size Lombuto siyawazi sizelo khona saxabana sodwa size eyense siyayazi siselwe khona saxabana sodwa size mandla.
Program Director, let me take the opportunity to greet you. A delegation from the G20 led by the Department of International Relations and Cooperations. Ubukumkani balapha emampondweni bumelwe i-councillors zonke osomashishini kusuka eWartambo kuya eWild Coast ukuza kule ndawo yaseNgquza. Abantu bonke kabashishinayo ndibaquka kulo mbuliso. I-Wartambo District Municipality represented here. Inkosi zethu amasebe onke kahulumente akhona apha ngokumenywa iziphathamandla ke zalo masebe neziphathamandla zikamasipala wonke umuntu okhona apha ongumuntu waseNgquza nomnye endingambalanga osuka kwenye indawo ndithathe ngelithi wonke umuntu ubulisiwe ngokwasesilungwini kuthiwa all protocol observed. It gives me a great pleasure on behalf of Inquza Hill Local Municipality to extend a warm word of welcome to you as we gather here in this important G20 community engagement. We never expected that we will be counted amongst those that will be given an opportunity to have a word in the G20. We highly appreciate that gesture. It was a good thought of you to think of us as a rural community that you come over uzawwenza lo msebenzi ongaka Department of International Relations. The theme is also inspiring. It talks to us directly. It's financial inclusion for economic development, creating access to benefit grassroots economies. Ithetha nathi ke sithe sikwi grassroots as people of Inquza. This gathering could not have come at a better time, as our communities are yearning for opportunities that bridge the gap between potential and prosperity. Today's engagement offers us a unique opportunity to connect global policy with local realities. We must collectively explore how to bridge the financial systems and grassroots needs to transform potential into progress and inclusion into tangible impact. The impact must be seen. Ingabi impact esiyithetha ngomlomo, kodwa it must be seen kubantu balapha kule ndawo that is very rural. Financial inclusion is not just about banking access or credit facilities. It is more about empowering people to participate meaningfully in the economy. It is about ensuring that the women in a rural cooperative, the young entrepreneur in Lusikisiki and Flagstaff, and the small farmers in our villages are not left behind in the global economic chain. We know abantu balapha, we had a struggle in the previous years. Honorable members will recognize that in the years when we wanted to have a development of a plaza or a mall, the studies show that people of this area are unemployed, but people of this area have money, but it is not known where does that money comes from. Then it was a threat when it is not known. It may soon diminish and disappear, and then no one will have that access, then the business will fall. But through times that it goes, they were able to trust us. We have the Lusikisiki Plaza, we have a Flagstaff Square, the mall, but ever since they have opened, I think 1 or 2 shops have closed. Many of them are still standing because of the support of the people of the area. As Inquza Hill, we believe that sustainable development must be rooted in community empowerment. Our economic landscape, dominated by agriculture, small enterprises, and informal sector, requires systems that support innovation, access into finance, and equitable participation. We therefore welcome
this engagement as a platform to exchange ideas, share experiences, and build partnerships that uplift the grassroots economy. However, we cannot speak of development without acknowledging the realities of climate change, which continues to affect our livelihoods in terms of food security and local infrastructure. The droughts, floods, and soil erosion we are experiencing reminds us that climate resilience must form part of our planning. As such, we are actively exploring climate-smart agriculture, renewable energy, and green investment opportunities to secure a sustainable future of our people. While Ingquza Hill Local Municipality continues to make progress in service delivery and local economic development, there remain critical challenges that threaten the full realization of our development potential. One of the most pressing issues is inadequate bulk infrastructure, particularly roads, water supply, and water supply systems. Poor road networks to constrain economic activity, limit access to markets, and increase the cost of doing the business, especially for the rural farmers and small enterprises. Similarly, insufficient bulk water infrastructure hampers both domestic and industrial growth, inclusive potential investment in agro-processing and tourism facilities. Addressing these infrastructure deficits is not just about service delivery. It's about unlocking inclusive economic participation and creating a foundation for sustainable growth. Our municipality is strategically positioned along the eastern coastline, blessed with natural assets that can drive the ocean's economy. The coastal stretch between Mbotyi, Msikaba, and Mkhambati presents an enormous potential for marine-based economic activities such as sustainable tourism, aquaculture, and small-scale fisheries. The region also holds promising prospects for gas and oil exploration in our ocean, which, if managed responsibly, could stimulate job creation, infrastructure development, and energy diversification, contributing meaningfully to the South African energy transition. Education remains a cornerstone of any thriving economy. However, our municipality has only one institution of higher learning, which is Ingwe TVET College in Ngqungqushe campus. With a rapid growing population across this geographic area, there's a need for another institution of higher learning, which can accommodate most of our children, and making a point that they are all capacitated in order to be able to come back and plow back to our communities. This calls for a renewed advocacy for a new institution of higher learning or a satellite campus to ensure that the youth is not left behind in the knowledge of economy. In addition, the cannabis industry presents another untapped economic frontier for Ingquza Hill. Siyayazi ke imbali yethu ngokulima insango. It relates to lantetho bendiyitshilo phaya eqaleni yobana wakuthandatyuzwa ngabantu abafuna uinvesta ekwakheni udidi lwevenkile apha. kuba bengayazi imali ivelaphi. Imali yalapha ke yayivela kwintsangu. Intsangu is still there, but siyayibona ubingathi iyasibaleka iya kwidolophi that are developed, whereas apha sinentsangu that can be used for medicinal use, not for ezinye izinto ezingabaluleka kakhulu kuthi, kuba kuthi into ebaluleke kakhulu impilo nangaphezulu kwezinto zonke. Agriculture can remain the key driver of rural livelihoods in our municipality. As part of our drive towards climate smart agriculture, we envision modernizing this sector by investing in resilient infrastructure, promoting sustainable farming practices, and supporting cooperatives to access finance and markets. In all these efforts, our commitment remains firm to ensure that the development is inclusive, environmental sustainable, and leaves no community behind. We are confident that through collective action, collaboration, visionary leadership, we can turn the challenges of inequality, poverty, and climate instability into opportunities for growth and innovation. As a municipality, we stand ready to partner with all stakeholders to advance innovation, investment, and collaboration that will uplift the communities and strengthen our local economy. Let this engagement be a catalyst for practical solutions, and may it reaffirm our shared commitment to an inclusive and just economy for all. In the area of tourism, in this space, we have Wild Coast and to Wild Coast Road that is being constructed in the area, with two major bridges. The other one is Msikaba Bridge, and also the Mtendu Bridge, which we are sharing with Winnie Madikizela Mandela Municipality. We have seen inclusive growth of the communities in that space of bulk infrastructure development in terms of that road, which we expect, because it's not going to be complete at the moment, but people of this area are sharing in terms of the construction of that road. At least eminye imizi iye yavulwa, kwenye imizi kulala kutyiwe, abantwana bakwazile ukuthunyelwa ezikolweni ngenxa yala msebenzi omkhulu phaya owenziwayo ngurhulumente. In conclusion, as we deliberate today, let us do so with a shared vision of inclusive, climate resilient, and prosperous economy that leaves no one behind. On behalf of Ingquza Hill Local Municipality, I welcome you all and wish you fruitful deliberations. Thank you.
Enkosi umdelo mndibela. Enkosi sodolophu. Ndicela simpe ezinye izandla again. Masi acknowledge kuba khona regional reps zikaNAFCOC baweyivitshozo ndawo bakuzo. I think la party no put Madikiz and others uNAFCOC. Sinayo a team from UNISA among us, noba bizobuya yaziswe nayo. Sibe nazo board members from St. Elizabeth, board members as a St. Thank you. Wild Coast, Business Chamber. Uyangena lapha. White Coast Business Chamber is among us. Thank you. Abafazi basenguza. Abafazi basenguza bakhona phakathi kwethu. Ndiyevakala ne. Ikhona delegation from Ingwe TVET College ekhokelwe ngutata umgutshela lentu kapha. Ikhona delegation Cannabis Association from Upper Ingos amongst us. Thank you. Farmers Association akhona amafama lapha eNgosi phakathi kwethu. Ukhona uChief of Staff we-Office ka-Executive Mayor ebengomnye beguguzela lo mcimbi. Councillor ubulelwa chapha bengafuna ubuza into kaPlace. Bulelwa chapha ungu-Chief of Staff kwi-Office ka-Executive Mayor we-District uNgqondwane. Ukhona umanager kwa-LED uMr Sociko phakathi kwethu khulwe. Ukhona umanager uMr Khango ukhona naye ungaphakathi kwethu. Thank you Kansa. Ukhona uMr Cezula ongu-admin manager ngena nje ngoku xa ulate ufike so unyonyoba xa ungena uphakathi kwethu ubhala. Ukhona phakathi kwethu uNkosi uMjojo selesijoinile pha kwiKingdom. Sijoinwe also i-HOD yakwa Community Service and Public Safety uMiss Masumpa uphakathi kwethu. Bese ngitshilo kuba uMashaba uthathe over as an acting MM because akho umuntu ebekhona sini. So nawe bangaphansi kwakhe kufika kosekhona. Sizocela ubukumkani bunike i-message of support. Ngokubhala ke apha kuthiwe kuzothethwa uChief Mduchane who is delegated by the King. Ndizocela ke ikhwezi lasenguza kuthiwe lile li-relevant for uba liphakamise ubukumkani. Bendibakwecile kuba bangabe ngathi baqhubekile. Ungelishwa nje ba utata umziya akekho apha. Wacula kakuhle umziya amaculo esimpondo. Ngoku akho umuntu apha ndimbona uba angenza lonto akuculele sibaro wabo. Unless lingakhona ke ivolunteer elingenza lonto ke xa silinde ikhwezi lasenguza. Abo ke besitsho masiwelele asinankosi.
Bekutheni usungena unqalentla. Bekutheni usungena unqalentla. Bekutheni usungena unqalentla. Bekutheni usungena unqalentla. Ekutheni usungena ungqalenta.
Ekutheni usungena ungqalenta. Ungena ungqalenta. Ekutheni usungena ungqalenta. Ekutheni usungena ungqalenta. Ekutheni usungena ungqalenta. Yidlala. Yidlala. Ekutheni usungena ungqalenta. Ekutheni usungena ungqalenta. Usungena. Yidlala. Usungena ungqalenta. Emalo.
Sizocela ke amadoda aphakame onke ngexesha ngaphambili abameli bukumkani athule izinqwazi ekungenzeka ngempazamo uba ebenqwazile. Amadoda aphakame onke. Amadoda aphakame onke. Dalxolo. Dalxolo. Dalxolo.
Mandibulise kuqala kusihlalo. Xa ndibulise ke umeya ndicinga uba ndibulise wonke umuntu because nguye olapha. Okwesibini ndibulise inkosi ezi ndihamba nazo zenza ubukumkani beli lamampondo. Program director andizuba mde kuba ngethamsanqa lam ndimfutshane abe nokumkani emfutshane, so sibulingana ke. Abantu abafutshane ngabacinga uba abakwazi kunaba, kodwa for the sake yexesha ndicinga uba andirhaleli uba ndinabe kakhulu. Masibulele okanye masibulise, masingabuleli. Masibulise i-department le ka Foreign Affairs kuthiwa nguDICO ke. Sibulise iUNISA, abasebenzi bakhona nabaphathi kuba bona ingengobantu basuka apha emampondweni. Okokuqala zidwangubeza kuthi sisemampondweni. Mandiqale ke ngalomhlaba uphethwe ngukumkani into yoba ningathi xa nifika apha eLusikisiki kubala uLusikisiki naseFlagstaff nicinga uba niwagqibile amampondo, kuba phaya eMbizana ukumkani usekhona, ukhona naseNtabankulu, ukhona naseMount Elif. Ngumhlaba wamampondo wonke kwezo dolophi, noba zinomasipala abahlukeneyo, both abalocal, iWinnie Madikizela Mandela, iNtabankulu kwakunye nenxenye yoMzimvubu. Siphinde ke kwakhona sibe inxalenye yase-OR Tambo kuba ilapha nayo kwakunye neAlfred Nzo. So ndizama ukuthi ningathi ukumkani xa nimbona pha nithi mhlawumbi uphazamile, isengumhlaba wasemampondweni. Kuthiwa ke xa kuthethwa apha emampondweni umhlaba wamampondo utyebile, namampondo uqobo atyebile, ndibabonile oomama apha. Kodwa ke kukho ilanguage okanye into esetyenziswayo ngabantu, andazi noba ndizawuthi ngabafundileyo na mama okanye ndizawuthi ngabantu abapolitikayo abathi amampondo ayalamba. Kuthiwa this area is very poor. Ndirhalela uba ke uphuwa ke ngokwe-definition uzijongela andimazi uthetha ukuthini. Kodwa kum xa ndimtolika uphuwa uthi you are poor because you don't have the right skills, the right resources, the right assistance, as well as the right knowledge, so that uzokwazi ukuphuhla kakuhle ube yile nto abanye abantu bacinga uyiyo. Amampondo ke have contributed kakhulu kwi-economy yelizwe. Baqale imigodini okhokho bethu, bathatha iveki ezintathu, kuthiwa uthatha iveki ezintathu xa ubheka eGoli, behamba ngeenqwelo zeenkomo okanye zeenkabi, bahlale unyaka wonke baphinde babuye. Beshiya ke onkoti abanye besanda ukuzeka engekasondeli nokusondela kuye, kusaziwa nje uba uyezikiwe ekhapha. Babashiya bohlala eGoli, bakha ke ezaa ndawo zaseRhawutini. Uyazibona indlela ezintle ngayo. siseza ke phaya executive mayor siyocela into yoba masincediswe kaloku ngemali ezakhe iRhawuti elia nangezimali ezakhe iTheku eli kuba uyalibona iTheku lilandile abantu bakuthi baphelela pha sirhalela ke ngokuza kwenu apha okanye le program kaG20 isincedise ngento ethi masiwabuyisa amampondo azokwakha eli lasemakhaya ngoku agqibile kweza ndawo. Ifuna ke lento ize yenzeke sisebenzisane kakuhle sisonke singamonelani kuba apha ebomini noba niyasibona basimile lensizwe secakwami ithanda ubandi nesiqu kanti nale secakwami yakatsorha nayinde kodwa xa sisebenza sobabini akho umuntu uzobona umde nomfutshane komnye yonke into izawubanye. So sithi ke eyona nto ibalulekileyo ke ona myalezo ugqithiswa kakhulu ngukumkani yinto oburhalela into yoba masiphuhle kweli lamampondo ngakumbi kulimo. Ndivuyile ke uprof phaya kuthiwa ukhona kwezinto zakwa-agriculture because inendlela esirhala ukulima ngayo le isichanayo thina abantu basemampondweni. Wonke umuntu unentsimi kodwa wonke umuntu akafuni ukusebenzisana nabanye abantu abasecaleni kwabo kula masimi bawalimayo. Ngoku yenzeke ngokulonto amasimi anganiki into ngokwendlela ekulindeleke ngayo because xa besidibanisa amasimi sonke siwalime beyintsimi enye kushiyane ke ngento yoba mna ingakanani yam sizoba ngakanani isivuno ndizochola malini xa sele kuphela unyaka sisaba. Uba besingenza loo nto ngesingaxakeki ngokufanayo ke nalapha emfuyweni uba besiyidibanisa imfuyo yethu ibe yimfuyo yethu idle ndawonye hayi abanye bathi eyami lapha eyakabani phaya yenze loo nto into yoba iinkomo zethu neegusha neebhokhwe zingabi naxabiso kuba kaloku akukho mntu othi ukuze zibe nexabiso kufuna kwenzekeni. Uyabona kumhlaba wamampondo kuthiwa utyebile sike sakrotyiswa kwenye indawo ke kwathiwa kuzo mayini ezilapha ziphezu kwezinye. Ngiyakhumbula mos ibikhona imayini ekhe yachazwa ibikhona kuthiwa iyasexholobeni ityebe kakhulu into ngelishwa lethu ke sasike saqala le mfazwe yokungazi. Andifuni ukuthi saqala imfazwe yokulwa saqala imfazwe yongazi into yoba obu butyebi ayibo bakho bobethu. Noba imayini ngathiwa iphakum eXhophozo but thina abantu baseXhophozo ngeke siyenze into engekho amampondo asuka kwezinye indawo ukuze axhamle kulo mhlaba kafako. Eyona nto ke sicinga uba sifuna ukuyijonga yileyo nokuthi xa sele sinazo ezi zinto silimile kakuhle maze kufakwe epokithini ziyobekwa ngaphaya zibuye sezinexabiso elithe xaxe kunezinye. Laa nto kuba bekuthiwa i-agriculture ngesithi i-agro-processing sirhalela ibe lapho ikwenzela uba imisebenzi yamampondo izoba khona. Siyazi ke abanye abantu bathetha ngentsangu but nentsangu nayo ayidiye phambili because omnye uthi ndikhule utata elima intsangu ndifunde ngayo ndaphila ngayo kodwa xa sekuthi nam ndikhona kwenye indawo kuthi hayi zithengisele yakho nomnye azithengisele ayisincedisi laa nto. Funeka yonke into siyenze sidibene singamampondo ukuze zonke izinto zethu kuba siphethwe izinto ezimbini. Ingqesho enqabileyo ngeke simgxeke urhulumente because norhulumente uyazama into yoba makubekho ingqesho kodwa eyona nto isilimaza engqeshweni yinto kokuba thina njengabantu abaqeshayo ngamanye amaxesha senzi kakuhle kuthi naba basebenzayo benze kungabikho zithuba zitsha zivulekayo ngendlela abasebenza ngayo. Okokugqibela kule nto inemisebenzi yinto ethi ukuze kaloku kubekho imisebenzi funeka kubekho uphuhliso. Mzukulwana namfulana funeka kubekho uphuhliso abantu bangene baqeshwe. Yes ndiyavuma uba sine plaza okanye i-shopping center ayisincedisi kakhulu kulento yeemployment, isincedisa kakhulu kulento yokuthenga lento inemali. Kuthiwa sine-buying power engummangaliso thina bantu basemakhaya. Xa ujonga kweentsuku zorholo, hayi ungabona nje nyani uba funeka ungayi kwasedolophini uba uyofika bepha. Ubukumkani ke ona msebenzi wabo uphambili kukudibanisa onke amampondo, sithethe ngelizwi elinye, senze into enye, ngakumbi xa sithetha ngathi sizinkosi, singalwi sodwa, kuba isincedisi loo nto. Iqhalo lesingesi sithi kungalwa inkunzi ezimbini, umhlaba wona uyalimala. Kanti bekungalwa namhlaba, bekulwa bona bobabini. Ulimo ke aluncedisi xa zingekho iinkampu zenkomo, prof. Funeka iikampu zenkomo ezizawuhlala iinkomo zethu. Sinalo nolwandle ke njengoba sekutshiwo. Akuncedisi uba sithi hayi siya ngeChristmas okanye ngeNew Year siyoqubha. Ulwandle lwethu alulungiselelanga thina into yoba sihambe siyoqubha. Lufuna ke luphuculwe kakhulu ukuze xa siyoqubha singabi naxhala lakutshona. Ngoku siyoyika thina ngabanye sifike sime phaa ematyeni sibukele sinabantu bequbha phaa, kuthi kwawuziliza sitshaya imfiyo kodwa singabo abantu abajongene naloo nto, kuba siyalwazi uba olwalapha lusondele kakhulu apha ematyeni. Loo nto iyenze into yoba kubekho umsinga ongamandla. Kwakunye nale nto etourism ke, ndiyayiva yona uba abantwana bethu bafunda itourism, kodwa ndinexhala abantwana nabo bafunda nje eklasini befundiswa ngabantu abangayaziyo kwale tourism uba yintoni. Because abantu bethu abahambi tu, owaphaya eMgezo uhlele eMgezo wasenkunzimbini usenkunzimbini, ubafundisa uba mabathini ke abantwana abahlala ngolo hlobo, nabasengobozane bahleli phaa engobozane babone kuba kwendawo. So itourism isafuna ikhihlalelwe kakuhle, kubekho abantu bokuyicubungula into yoba xa usuke apha wabheka eLambas wawubona phaa embotyi, apha eLambas kwiMaga Falls nantoni, uqala ngoku kuvuleka ingqondo, because tourism is about i-mindset yakho ngelizwe lakho, ubukele ubuhle, ukuze wawufika ekhaya uthi tyhini bendikhe ndaya eMagwa ndabona kusenzeka oku noku, kutheni ngenokwenzeka apha kuthi loo nto. That's part of tourism. Kodwa ke bakhona abantu bokuyifunda. Masigqibele ke, bendikhe ndafunda ne-theme apha yale G20, imandi kakhulu, ikhala nge-solidarity, equality ne-sustainability. But uba ngaba thina sisezitulweni ezizokukhokhela asizibambanga izinto uba zithetha ukuthini kuthi, iyawuthetha ukuthi yonke le nto siyihlalele apha ayizusinika nto iya phambili. Ukumkani ke ube bekhona ebeza kuthi ubukumkani bamampondo budala, buyalingana nobukumkani bakwaZulu, kodwa ilishwa lethu ngenxa yemfazwe zethu singamampondo yenza into yoba singabi nalo nditsho nebhodwe eli esingasuka kulo ngoku sithi hamba ubukela sike siye nebhodweni lamampondo liphi, sihlela apha sonke, abaninzi abalazi noba liphi, asinandawo silakhe kuyo. Sicinga uba yinto yokuqala le kumele uba xa singenisa ukumkani luphetheyo sisithi makasincedise sike sibe nebhodwe lobukumkani, ngesihleli phaa ebhodwe ngoku uba ngabe ibhodwe besinalo. Iyasilimaza ke laa nto because yenza ngathi ubukumkani bethu buncinci kunabanye abantu. Mandivale ke sihlalo ngelithi ndiyawubona lo msebenzi ukhangele kumhle, kodwa uba ngaba ootata nomama basuka kwaDeco naseUnisa nakwezinye indawo abuyanga bazothi ezi zinto beniziphakamisa sicela ukuzicubungula ngamandla ngoku ukuze sinincedise niye phambili. Iyawuba senza nganto. Sicela nje loo nto kumziwa lapha ekhaya. Siyabulela nonwabe abantu abakwethu kusemakhaya apha kho kwenye indawo. Amen.
Ndaqola. 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 Uba ke uthethe amagama angekho right. Kuzobe ngudalxolo wenze lo. Nawudibana nobabili. Uba kodwa be right hayi ngawakho siba. Masitsho uba sizawunikela kuDr. Morin aqhubeke le program azoyiqhuba naye. I am only giving you 25 minutes. Whilst it says a stage, you can come. Masi acknowledge into yoba sijoinwe inkosi yakwabhala apha kwisizwe sakwaBhutshula. Umuntu ongumama. Uthe sikazukekizela ngalonto. Alibongwe. Igama lamakhosikazi. Alibongwe. Igama lamakhosikazi. Hayi ngobe nempava kube ngumuntu ongumama. Sabiye sajoinwa ngu-honorable member, the member of the executive committee without portfolio, my friend, Upele, Mr. Situ, just wave your hand. Unxibe kakuhle futhi namhlanje. Yo, hlobam. Udla ngokusimosha ngempahla ezibovu. Thank you very much. Come forward, Doc.
Molweni. Molweni. Good morning. Is it morning still or is it afternoon yet? Good afternoon. Program Director, Chief Whip of the Council and Councillor Mzungu, I thank you most sincerely for welcoming me to take the stage. I acknowledge and I had the most great privilege that I'm seated with the Mayor Pepping, and it was a wonderful opportunity this morning to receive a proper briefing with her earlier on. Let me acknowledge in absentia the Vice Chancellor of the University of South Africa, Professor Pulen Lingabula. In his shoes, I'm standing here this morning to give a welcome address from the University of the Land, the university that carries the name of our country, the University of Leaders, the University of South Africa. I would love to also acknowledge the royal family and the royal presence in our midst this morning, thanking most sincerely the speech by Chief Mduchani, who has just spoken before me, who was speaking on behalf and representing the acting king of Amampondo, where we are, King Daluxolo. We also had at our briefing this morning the pleasure of meeting with him and those that are accompanying him, including Chief Dinwayo and Dr. Manqojwa. We have just heard that we are also in the presence of a female royal member. May we acknowledge her again? Hilililili. May we acknowledge our mothers who are taking up leadership in our communities? Malibongwe! Malibongwe! I acknowledge I'm accompanied from UNISA as well by our regional director who's sitting with us at our table, Dr. Makwena Mulocha, and from DECO, of course, the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, with whom we have traversed the country, gone to several provinces where we are taking the G20 to the community, as we are doing today, under the theme of the road to G20 through community participation and public dialogue. I welcome Mr. Surprise Malehasi from Public Diplomacy in DECO, who's also accompanied by several colleagues from the department, including Mr. Mohale, Mr. Mtombeni, and Ms. Oliphant. It's been a great pleasure as the University of South Africa to traverse this journey with DECO, as I was saying, going to several provinces. We started at Pretoria, we've been to KwaZulu-Natal, we have been to Mpumalanga, we have been to Northwest, and we are happy this morning to be here in Lusikisiki. It is my greatest pleasure, and may we welcome the community of Lusikisiki. I'm loving the DECO for its opportunity to bring me here. I don't know if I would have been to Lusikisiki. So I sincerely thank DECO for this opportunity and for the G20 for making it possible for us to say as a university, we do not have to only sit in Pretoria, we need to come where the communities are. It is therefore my warmest and greatest pleasure to be in Lusikisiki this morning. Let me acknowledge we will have a panel discussion, as we have heard, of several participants. But another point I want to emphasize, dear Mayor, is that in this collaboration, it is not just UNISA and DECO. We have worked very closely. Chief of Staff is here, she knows. We've been in several meetings planning for this event. Much as we are coming from government in Pretoria, much as we are coming from UNISA in Pretoria, the G20, when we host it in very close collaboration with the local community. And it is for that reason that you see even the program director is the chief whip from this community. You will see also in the panel discussion, we take great care to ensure that we include amongst panelists also people from the local municipality as well as the district municipality as well. And hence we call it the road to G20 through community engagement and public participation. Amongst our panelists, we will have Professor Julius Chelele from the College of Agriculture at UNISA, and of course, Kumkani, we heard very clearly and very strongly the request from this local municipality to say, agriculture is UNISA, the academic community, we'd love for you to be more involved to help the local community as far as ensuring that the agricultural sector grows. We have also heard, and I believe Professor Chelele will speak about the request for us as a university to contribute towards how we can grow the economy around Insango. Yes, there is absolutely no, please apologies for my mispronunciation. My tongue is betraying me. I can tell from the comments that I didn't say it properly. I'm also a Tswana. I'm just a Tswana speaker who also speaks Afrikaans and other languages. And please forgive me for my mispronunciation. I hope, though, I didn't make it sound worse than it could have been. Let me acknowledge Dr. Lisedi Induna from the College of Economic and Management Sciences, also from UNISA, who'll speak on tourism. We've heard from the video about the tourism potential of this municipality. And therefore, I do hope that she will make sure that she makes the right networks and the connections with the community to talk about how could we as an academic institution look for ways in which we can be helpful to this community. We'll hear from Mr. Khanyisa Mpisani from the Department of Economic Development, Environmental Affairs and Tourism. We'll hear from Mr. Odwa Mzimani from Earthguard Consulting, and we'll hear from, I hope I didn't say Mr. instead of Miss, Mr. Mongezi Langa from the Eastern Cape Parks and Tourism Agency. We also have amongst us young leadership, SRC, say Viva SRC, Viva. Viva SRC, Viva. These are the future leaders, Chief Whip, that need to be nurtured to be able to take over when the appropriate time comes to ensure that our communities are led and the dreams and aspirations of the people of the Eastern Cape are taken care of and remain in strong hands. We welcome the entertainers, the choir that helped us to sing the national anthem this morning, as well as our mothers who gave us a beautiful dance this morning as well. Let me welcome members of national and provincial and local government, and several of them were acknowledged this morning. I will not mention them by name. We heard that there's a strong delegation from the business community, from civil society, from political parties, research institutions, and institutions of higher learning. Mayor, we heard your cry as well, that as the University of South Africa, we need to look into how we can ensure that the local community also is catered for as far as the presence of institutions of higher learning. Indeed, we have seen, because we stayed overnight in Umtata, and we've seen indeed it's 2.5 hours drive to come here. There should be no reason, and because UNISA prides itself as being a university that can reach the deepest parts of the country, there is no reason why the local community have to spend so much money and time accessing higher education. We therefore have an obligation as the University of South Africa to ensure that the local community has access to education of quality and of the level that all South Africans are entitled into. As I'm saying, and ladies and gentlemen, I also welcome other members that I have not honored and mentioned by name. If there are other universities present, we heard that there's a TVET college that is here as well, other government departments. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give another round of applause to the community of Inguza. We are indeed here to be here precisely because we wanted to reach the community. Today we are here, as I've said, as part of the G20. The G20 itself has 3 themes: equality, sustainability, and solidarity. We have localized the theme for today, and we were very happy when the mayor spoke so ably about financial inclusion and economic development for the benefit of grassroots communities. As I've said, Professor Linkabula is not able to be with us, but she sends warm greetings as well for those of us who are here present today. Program Director, let me also talk a little bit about what the G20 is about. Normally when we do this G20, we also have somebody speaking on behalf of the Sherpa of the G20, explaining what it is about. And therefore, in the absence of Mr. Kwete, let me touch a little bit on what the G20 is really about. It was established in 1999 following the collapse of Asian economies, when several ministers of finance came together and governors of central banks came together and said, let's talk about how we can avoid a similar calamity from happening. Because typically when economies of one region collapse, it has a ripple effect on other economies around the world as well. Our country, South Africa, was a member of the G20 from its inception. And now our status has been elevated as we host this year the G20 presidency in South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, I know we love saying that this is the first time that the G20 is on African soil. The truth of the matter is that back in 2007, when the G20 was still only a meeting of ministers of finance and governors of the central bank, we had the opportunity. And indeed, because our country is so impactful and transformative, after the meeting of 2007, and having followed the plea from South Africa to say the G20 needs to be more inclusive, it was then changed to include the summit of leaders of the type that we will have next week here taking place in South Africa. We also, therefore, in the G20, we have the finance track in its original form, where it's a meeting of finance ministers and governors of central banks, but you also have the Sherpa track. The Sherpa track is part of where we are today, where we ensure that communities and members of countries where the G20 is being hosted also have an opportunity to know and to participate and to make a contribution towards the G20. We therefore have our country to thank for this transformation of the G20 to be of the form that we have, and indeed, therefore in 2025 is the first time that the G20 in its transformed shape and format is being hosted on African soil. It now includes the African Union, and it includes the European Union as well, adding to the original members that formed the G20 at the time. It is about creating opportunities. It's about growing economies. It's about ensuring that no one is left behind. We have listened very carefully to the video that was being played this morning, talking about the potential. And Mayor, I was very happy when you spoke about, let's move from potential to progress. Let's move from potential to progress. Let's say all of us, let's move from potential to progress. Let's move from potential to progress. And therefore, through this journey, may the local municipality in Lusikisiki, therefore, its potential be brought to become progress that can benefit the entire community. And of course, because we are also here for the Eastern Cape, the entire province of the Eastern Cape as well. I've spoken a little bit about our university. We are present in Mthatha. We have a regional office there. The regional director is here. We are present in Gqeberha, and we are also present, where's the third one that I'm forgetting, Mthatha, in East London. And of course, as we've heard, there's a plea for us to be present here as well. We are the oldest university in South Africa, 152 years. We started off as an examination center for several of what used to be university colleges that have since grown to become universities in their own right. Amongst them, including Fort Hare. Fort Hare used to be a university college of the University of South Africa, where all the students that studied there would take the exams at the University of South Africa and have their degrees conferred as the University of South Africa. Hence, we like saying UNISA is the grandmother of all universities in our country. It is indeed proper. Through the type of university that we are, that allows for open and long-distance learning, we are able to reach any part of the country. We are present in several countries across the world. We are the only university in South Africa that has a fully fledged campus outside of our borders. We have a campus in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. And we have DECO to thank for creating that opportunity for us, for University of South Africa to be present and have a full campus in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. We are proud to be here in the province of Legend, the province that have produced several of our very ethical leaders for our leadership in South Africa, politically, economically, and otherwise. This is the province that have produced our first democratic president, Mandela, that has produced the current president, Cyril Ramaphosa. Well, the University of South Africa, he studied at UNISA. As UNISA, we are proud that with the province of Eastern Cape, we're able to lead also to the development and achievement also of our current Chancellor, Dr. Thabo Mbeki, who is from this province and is also our Chancellor and is the former President of the Republic of South Africa. UNISA is pleased to have also amongst its illustrious alumni, amongst them Professor Z.K. Matthews, who's closely associated with this province, and also the jazz legend Retipule as well, who has gone on to study. Kumkani, earlier on, while you were having tea, I was very serious. UNISA does not discriminate on age at all. We do not discriminate based on age. Those in the room that still have the energy and the drive and can make the time to study Kumkani, please encourage them to come and study at UNISA. Yes, we had the request that says, are you going to acknowledge, those others that may not meet the academic requirements? Indeed, we do have what we call recognition of prior learning, where we are saying, even though you did not meet matric, you've done certain things that you have done and achieved, and therefore we are able to consider you for registration at our university. We therefore look forward to seeing an increase in registrations from this area, precisely because we've been in Lusikisiki. And as we listen to the request to be physically present here, let's see also the increase in registration of student numbers from this area. That will make us very happy. Program Director, let me not take too much time. I do not want to repeat what the mayor has talked about regarding the potential economic activities that can come from this region, from this local municipality. My dear professors and doctors from UNISA will speak in detail about in their areas of expertise of agriculture and tourism and others as well. Indeed, let me just say as UNISA, we do recognize the potential of this local municipality, and we are willing to work together to lead to progress, precisely because your potential is worthy of being acknowledged and to be nurtured. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. We look forward to a fruitful day from the University of South Africa, together with DECO, working with the OR Tambo District Municipality, working with the local municipality here. I don't want to make the name and mispronounce the name of the local municipality. I don't want my tongue to betray me and I end up saying things that I should not say. So I'll stick with local municipality. It is a great pleasure to be here, and I welcome all of us. May we enjoy the day in Cosy. Thank you so much. Program Director. He has just given me another task, the easier one of announcing the panel that is about to take place. Without wasting too much time, I would love to call to the podium our members of the panel. I'll call them individually and they'll come and take their respective place where they are going to sit. I would love to call to the podium Professor Julius Jelele from the College of Agriculture. Okay, let's give him a round of applause. Please ask him questions about agriculture, all the questions that you have. We're going to have a session where, as members of the participants from the municipality, you'll be able to ask him questions about how he can contribute in the area of agriculture for the benefit of the local municipality. May I call Dr. Lisedi Nduna from the College of Economic and Management Sciences from UNISA as well, who is a specialist in tourism. May I call from the OR District Municipality, Nangamso Lugeche. May I call from the Eastern Cape Parks and Tourism Agency, Mr. Mongesi Langa. May I call from the Department of Economic Development, Environmental Sciences and Tourism, Kanye Sampisani. Ladies and gentlemen, I think she's not here with everyone. Just checking with the Chief Whip, have I called everyone? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as I hand over to the Program Director for the next session, thank you so much. Oh, okay, thank you so much. They are going to be given 30 minutes each. May I call the moderator of this panel from Ubuntu Radio to come forward. Ms. Thelma, take it forward from your vantage point as a person at Ubuntu Radio, which is about public diplomacy for our country, highly experienced and highly capable, who will moderate this session. Thank you.
Please pardon me, I'm quite taller than Dr. Tong. Yeah, I am quite gifted with in terms of height. Oh, Dr. Tong is missing one person on the panel. That would be Mr. Odwa Zimane from Earth Garden Consulting. Sir, you were supposed to be part of this panel. I don't know if you decided otherwise, but from my understanding, okay. Is it okay? All right. Looks like things changed without my knowledge. Allow me to greet you, Mr. Program Director, our distinguished guests, the mayor. Just like Dr. Tong, I will not say things that I'm just a girl from Limpopo, so my tongue cannot click as required. Yes, I acknowledge the presence of our mayor, Councillor Nonkosi Peping, and all councillors who are present here, government officials, the Chief Mduchani, Please pardon me if I don't pronounce it correctly. And the Royal Council, their co-leadership and officials, and of course our partners, the University of South Africa, led by Dr. Maureen Tong, on behalf of the Principal and the Vice Chancellor, Professor Puleng Linkabula. Let me also greet the civil society present and the community at large. My name is Thelma Hlongwane. I am a broadcaster attached to the Ubuntu Radio, which is part of the Department of International Relations and Cooperation. We are accessible online, www.ubunturadio.com, or on the STV audio bouquet, channel 888. Dr. Tong has already highlighted why we are here. Also, it is a privilege for me to stand before you today to facilitate this G20 community town hall engagement, which is a joint effort of DECO and the University of South Africa. We might be of the understanding that the event is taking place next week. I'll just talk to a few events that are preparing us to get to that particular event. We will have the T20 summit, which is scheduled to take place between the 13th and the 14th of November in Sentin ICC in Johannesburg, Gauteng. That will be followed by the 4th Sherpa meeting led by the DG of the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, Mr. Zain Dango. It is also going to take place in Gauteng. Following that will be the G20 standardization side event taking place between the 18th and the 19th of November. And there will be the G20 social summit led by President Cyril Ramaphosa taking place at the Birchwood Hotel in East Rand, Ekurhuleni. We will also see the B20 South Africa 2025 summit taking place in Sentin. That is meant for business community. And there will also be the foreign ministers meeting that will be led by my minister, Minister Ronald Lamola. And lastly, there will be a G20 Leaders Summit taking place between the 22nd and the 23rd of November 2025. So I am going to take a seat so that I can have some sort of an engagement with my panelists. We'll only take 30 minutes of your time. Be patient with us. And following that, I will hand over for the moderator of questions and answers. If you are noting something in our discussion, please note it down. We will have time for you to ask those questions. Allow me to take my seat. Thank you so much. Firstly, I would like to take this opportunity to get to know and understand what our panelists are all about and what they do. I'm going to give you at least a minute and a half each to introduce yourself and what you do. I'll start with you, Professor.
Good afternoon. Is it on? Good afternoon. Is it on?
It's on.
I'm audible. Okay. Molweni. This isn't as far as I can go. But I'm gonna learn from today. And good afternoon. Protocol has been observed. I'm going to save time and just get straight to it. But before I introduce myself, Program Director, allow me just to say one or two things. One is, it's my first time being in Umtata, and it was a very good opportunity to sleep in Umtata and drive to Lusikisiki because the beauty, it's out of this world. I'm not sure if we are aware what is before us. So what I want to say before we get into the crux of the matter is, look at the challenges that have faced us and look at the opportunities and resources that we have. And if you think about that, we should be able to solve our problems ourselves. But that as it may, the second thing that I would like to say is the quote from our icon, former president, the late Dr. Nelson Mandela, who spoke about the power of education and the fact that it can change the world. And the world in the context of our meeting is Lusikisiki. This is our world. The reason why I'm saying that, my name is Professor Tlou Julius Chelele. I'm coming from a small rural village in Moleji that's 40 kilometers west of Polokwane. The reason why I'm proudly introducing myself that it's also as a message and an encouragement to the young people who are coming from disadvantaged families like me and many others, that it is possible and it is in our hands. We can do it. Can't we do it? I thought you will agree. I've studied my PhD in 2014 from the University of KwaZulu-Natal, specializing in botany, but my interest is in rangeland ecology and management, and more interest is on plant-herbivore interaction. To make it simple and for your understanding, my work is on plants, that's trees and grasses, which is food for animals, which also provide other various ecosystems that we benefit, including what we have and enjoyed coming to Lusikisiki. In a nutshell, I'm a professor at the University of South Africa, the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences. It's a great pleasure and honor to be here, and I'm looking forward to a fruitful engagement and sharing what is possible and what can we take forward and change and address problems that are facing us in Lusikisiki. Thank you.
I'm glad that you simplified it as plants and animals for some of us who don't understand the technical terms. Dr. Ndu, over to you.
Thank you so much. Molweni. My name is Lusikisiki Nduna, and I am from the College of Economic and Management Sciences. I'll answer any questions afterwards. Lusikisiki Nduna idibana njani. Mine is, I'm passionate about tourism. I'm a doctor in tourism, and I found myself being interested in agriculture. And I thought to myself, how do I match the two? That's how I came up with agritourism. That's my specialty. And my inquisitiveness has always led me to learn about other people, other cultures, other experiences. My people, tourism is about people. Tourism is about your story. Tourism is about our culture. Tourism is about our heritage. Tourism is about our landscapes. Prof has already said the beauty that we experienced driving from Umtata coming here. I would do it again. I was telling him that it's something that I will not fly anywhere else, but I will opt from Tata and drive down here. So we really need to change our perception when it comes to tourism. What is tourism? Tourism is us. What is your story? What is the story of this local municipality? What do you have that you can offer to the world? Last night when we were at the hotel, it was filled with internationals. Me being inquisitive, I went to the receptionist and asked, why are there so many internationals here? They said, no, they're spending one night by Glula. And I said, is there something that I'm missing about? Sorry. Datukuya, is there something that I'm missing about the place? Because there's so many people. Maybe there's something that I don't know about that they're here to see. And sadly, she said, no, they're just passing for a night. Now, executive mayor, it means those people need to have your pamphlets and to say, how about a drive to experience the beauty? Because she couldn't tell me why these people are here. She said, via Glul. And we are missing out on an opportunity. So let's make tourism our responsibility. It starts with us. And I'll leave it at that for now.
Wow. I didn't know that there is a doctor for tourism. I love tourism, and obviously today I'm going to learn more. Well, today we are going to focus more on climate change, something that touches on everybody's life. It could be a farmer, you could be a student, you can be a family member of a community in this region. And the G20 Environmental and Climate Sustainability Working Group has identified climate change as one of the priorities of G20. So let's hear from you, say, as a climate specialist. Can you just give us a brief introduction of yourself and what you do?
Thank you. Untitled Chapter, emva kwemini ndisibulisele kuwo wonke umuntu okhoyo apha. I am Nangam Solugetje. I work for OR Tambo District Municipality, and I'm responsible for environmental management. Lento siyazi ngokwasemakhaya kuthiwa lulondolozo lwendalo. Part of my training, I started years back, and I was trained in environmental sciences at Walter Sisulu University, and I went on prof to do my honors with the University of Choice, UNISA, and I later enrolled for my masters. As you were sharing your resume, in a way, I felt inspired that it looks like I've already got a supervisor for me to be called doctor when I ascend the stage next time. To give a brief snapshot, as a boy who grew up in rural areas of Elliotdale, Exhorha, I think lento yolondolozo lezendalo into endikhule ndiyenza because besingamakhwenkwe akhula esolusa ehamba emadlelweni, so it didn't feel like something new when I get to university. It's something that I resonated with, and as part of my work that I do in OR Tambo as my responsibility, I'm responsible for environmental management broadly, but part of that is climate change. And over the years, what we've observed in the district is the reality that we cannot do as we used to do. We cannot resort to business as usual any longer, because seemingly same things have really changed. There's a shift that has happened. The way the rainfall, the extreme temperatures we've been experiencing across the region are a testament that there's a shift, there's something that has happened, and that talks to our actions as local people in the ground. We have to rethink and reshape the way we engage in our activities. And the thing with climate change, it doesn't only affect a certain personnel or certain component of the community, but everyone. Agriculture, abalimi bayachaphazeleka, sithethile apha kumasipala waseNgquza sathi kwezinye izinto ame ngazo kwezoqoqosho lulimo, zezonxweme ngokokhenketho, nala plant ilinywa apha. Zizinto ezo zibonakala zisesichengeni xa kuba ngaba asibeki policies and procedures to ensure that we safeguard that. So as a district, we currently in partnership with DFFE, Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, we are on a process of developing a district-wide climate change response strategy in response to the Climate Change Act that has been signed by President just last year. So we're strategizing and ensuring that in each and every action that we take in every sector, we mainstream and integrate climate change initiatives so that we become the societies that are resilient towards climate change impacts.
Thank you so much. Can you give him a round of applause? Mr. Lang, I am proud to say that I've had an opportunity through my line of work to experience some of the tourism offerings in Eastern Cape, thanks to Eastern Cape Parks and Tourism Authority. I would like you to have a few words as a point of introduction and what you do.
Unkosi kakhulu sis. Ndibulise kubonke abakhona apha, uMameya, ubukumkani bamaMpondo. Then to everybody, ndithi mambo or hamjambo ngesiswahili. Ulwimi engicimba uzawusidibanisa sonke njengoba kukhona nani nisuka kwela cala lengasentla. I'm Mongezi Langa, from Port St. John's, just few kilometers from the town up. But I grew up up in Lusikisiki kwindawo ekuthiwa kwaGangatha, ndakhulela apha ke
ndahamba sendinomfazi apha umfazi ke it's a wife. Yeah, ndahamba sendinomfazi ndaqanda ndathatha umfazi kwaGangatha ndahamba ndagoduka ke ngoku ndayeThombo. I was trained as an educator at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, and then after some few years from that background, I ventured off to Senbi, which has been basically the area of environment and biodiversity has always been my love. So I joined the South African National Biodiversity Institute, and I've been there for the longest time of my career. And then I think I got, from at Senbi, I got exposed to something that I do at the moment, which is basically community facilitation and making our people understand the importance and the significance of environment, biodiversity, and conservation. And then from there, obviously, because I was at Senbi, I had to go to Durban University of Technology to hone my skills on landscaping and then the whole lot about landscaping, because there was a huge project that we were busy with at that time at Kaukeni, Great Place, which is not very far from here, where we were busy with the cultural village and also the landscaping of the whole area. So I basically, even though I was working from Pretoria, from Pietermaritzburg, from Cape Town, as you can imagine, the footprint of Senbi, but I was working for Amampondo as Impondo. Then from there, I enrolled with you guys for project management because I was moving towards that side, managing the projects of Senbi in the Eastern Cape, at Free State, and also at KZN. So I've managed various projects. Groen Sebenza, I was at Groen Sebenza, the first Groen Sebenza. I was the coordinator for Eastern Cape, Free State, and KZN. Then from there, I ventured off to Eastern Cape Parks and Tourism Agency for a very important project that is taking place at the moment, which is the N2 toll road. But mainly for this, I think for Eastern Cape Parks and Tourism, mainly from Port St. John's to Port Edward, because there is that project which is aligned to the N2 toll road, which is the N2 Wild Coast Biodiversity Offset Project. And that's the project that I'm busy serving my community through it at the moment. And obviously, there's a lot of interventions with regards to mitigations, climate change mitigations that can be derived from that project, especially for this community from Port St. John's all the way to Port Edward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We don't have much time. I would ask you to keep it short and to the point as you respond to my questions. Let's get down to business. I'll start with you, Nangumso. How is the OR Tambo district municipality aligning its climate adaptation plans with the G20 theme of solidarity, equality, and sustainability?
Thank you very much. What we've realized as the district is that nobody can respond to climate change in isolation. But what we've developed then, the plans and systems that we've put in place is to ensure that we not only seek through climate change to mitigate and adapt, but to build resilience of the communities such that they are able to withstand and live economically viable life even after they've been impacted by the climate change impacts. What we have done is that throughout the municipality policies and plans, we have tried to mainstream the climate change concept across infrastructure, economic development, tourism, water and sanitation policies, such that at every corner at which the municipality is implementing a project, that project is responding to the needs of the communities in terms of adapting and mitigating realities that are facing people on the ground. We have also seen that it's a matter that affects not only livelihoods, but also the life of people. You might have seen the recent floods that we've experienced in Tata. But we are saying now we must be in a position that is proactive in terms of giving early warning systems to the communities and ensuring that communities are resilient such that on their own, where they are sitting, they can be able to cope. One of the key strategies that we use mostly is education and awareness. I think it has been said here that education is key. Communities that have knowledge, they are in a better position to be able to respond and adapt to the changes to the realities and changes of climate change. Thank you.
Dr. Nduna, as a tourism specialist, how, in your view, does climate change affect tourism-based livelihoods, especially here in the Eastern Cape, and what adaptation strategies do you recommend?
Tourism, it's it's vulnerable, it's affected by the environment. So with regards to climate change, it forces us as the industry to go back and plan, how do we incorporate adapting climate changes? It's in our energy efficiency. And when you look at places like Lusikisiki, it's natural. So already it's a sustainable tourism offering that they can actually get that green tick as a destination that can draw a sustainable tourist, quite diverse and quite open. So these are the things that we really need to look into. When we talk about tourism, we have to think of it in line of sustainability. Sustainability, what do we mean by that? It's inclusive. It includes the local community. The product offering which we are doing, they're naturally based. So these are some of the adaptation strategies that we can look into. How do we use what we have? The agriculture, we can borrow from other industries and work together in such a way that whatever we do, we don't leave a footprint, but we enhance and we grow our industry.
Thank you so much. I'm going to humbly ask the audience to keep it low. If you have any questions, you will be allocated time to ask those questions. So let's keep our voices as low as possible so we can hear our panelists as they respond to the questions that we have. To my crop and animal specialist, we have already noted that Lusikisiki is a rural area, and I believe that here there are like small scale farmers that are currently producing here. How do you think they can adopt a climate smart practice without necessarily sacrificing their yield?
Thank you very much. This is a very important question, but let's put things into perspective. If we're talking climate change, we're not talking something that we don't know. We're speaking extreme temperatures. We see how hot it gets. We see how cold it gets during winter.
Sinesicelo bangasemva kwikhwezi lasengozi kunengxobanyana khona ukwenza lo msebenzi mhle kangaka singazuva kakuhle masiwombeleni nje le discussion siyacela kakhulu kulandawo nabanye ke bangayenza into yenziwa pha enkosi xolo ukuphazamisa.
Thank you once again. I was just putting things into perspective that the extreme temperatures, erratic rainfall, the rain, it happens erratically. So the time that we use to rain, it doesn't, sometimes it comes early and so on. And so that's what, in simple terms, to someone who may not know what we are talking about, it's climate change. It is here, it's a reality. However, it is important that we don't go far in solving this problem. One, it's indigenous knowledge systems. Our great-grandfathers and mothers had ways of doing things, and they worked. And that's what we should tap into. For instance, I can give an example with an Nguni breed. It's a hardy animal. It's very resistant to ticks, for instance, which increases during, in a changing climate due to extreme temperatures. But at the same time, there are crops like your sorghum that are very hardy and can resist, the changing climate. In a nutshell, all that I'm saying is we don't need to go far to solve or adapt and mitigate, the changing climate, but rather look at what we have as a society. As I'm saying, there are, indigenous animals and crops that are, resilient to this changing climate. And as a result, they will still give you the yield that you require. in this changing climate. But there are very key points that have been mentioned by our king, which is teamwork and therefore working together. And we can bring in the issue of education as well, because we can use our indigenous crops that we have, or even indigenous animals, and cross them with other animals and or crops that may provide a good yield, so that we have got hardy, but at the same time we do not compromise, our productivity. But the message that I am conveying to you is, let's not look far. Let's use what we have before us, and even the knowledge that our ancestors have used and worked for them.
Mr. Langa, I would like to get your take in terms of how we can work on protected areas in the region which are managed to mitigate climate-related threats such as wildfires and invasive species.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. Firstly, let me zoom into the N2 Wild Coast Biodiversity Offset and take it from there, because it also involves some of the areas that we manage as Eastern Cape Parks and Tourism, that is your nature reserves. Currently, we have not less than 23,000 hectares of areas that are going to be declared very soon through the N2 Wild Coast Biodiversity Offset. Now, with that, 7,000 degraded areas are actually going to be restored through this program. Now, if you restore that, just taking one example, if you restore 7,000 hectares from the 23,000 hectares, it means that there's going to be, you enable the absorption of something like 1.4 million tons of CO2 over 20 years. Now, you can imagine that what it does to our atmosphere, which is actually going to reduce the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And secondly, the wetlands conservation. Part of the areas that we work, or parts of the areas that we work within, are areas like Lambasi, where there's a lot of wetlands there. Also in Mkambati. For you to take note that the national minister will be here on the 25th of February next year to declare Mkambati as a Ramsar site, which is a very significant step. And it means that if we are able to, for instance, enhance those areas, like we've got something like 12,000 hectares of areas that are going to be restored to be wetlands, that enables us to store 3.5 million tons of CO2 in these areas, which is being absorbed from the atmosphere. Now you can imagine the contribution that it does to these areas. The alien vegetation. For instance, the project that we are involved with now, it's got 3 focus areas. It's the alien eradication, it's the conservation, it's the wetlands restoration, and also it is the grasslands restoration, which is your basically is the areas where they are doing grazing. So if we focus in these 3 areas, it means that there is a lot that we are doing to contribute towards the reduction or the mitigation strategies in climate change. I'm just mentioning a few of the contributions of the mitigations that ECPTA contributes towards the climate change. Thank you.
Nangomso, are there any specific actions that the municipality is taking to kind of climate-proof critical infrastructure, just like your roads, the environment itself, the schools, etc.?
Thank you. Apart from education, what you must understand is that the Climate Change Act has came in effect only last year. Previously, that we're working with the national policy, which was not putting any specific responsibilities to municipalities. Now, Chapter 3 of this Act, Section 17, put a responsibility to district to say, you must develop climate change needs and response analysis, and this must be informed by science. You must then go back and conduct what is known as a risk and vulnerability study, so that you respond appropriately to the issues on the ground. The very first step that we did in 2017 through the policy, we then developed a strategy in that era, but that was not morely informed by science. But what we are saying now, we say we don't want to go forward with a strategy that we are not sure how backed with science it is. What now we're doing with the strategies that we are developing, we want to integrate this strategy to the service delivery instruments of the municipality. We are saying to the engineers and architects of the municipality, when you design a bridge, you must design it such that it's resilient to flooding. The stormwater management of the system must then be brought in to accommodate the high rainfall that we're experiencing right now. Because in that, there's, again, imagine in a situation where in Coffee Bay you had in 22 the floods, and then the basic infrastructure such as roads, schools and bridges were washed away. You then go back again, you put a similar design, a similar capacity bridge. The likelihood is that in the next 2 years, it's gonna rain again and gonna be washed. So what we are saying, in all the sectors, agriculture, infrastructure, human settlements, incorporate the element of sustainability, resilience towards these extreme events associated with climate change that we're seeing, and we're backing that with education.
Back to you, Dr. Nduna. What would you recommend as support systems for the tourism sector from government and the academia to kind of back themselves in terms of being a carbon, what do you call that word?
From a tourism point of view, first of all, as academia and different institutions, before we get to the carbon emissions, we need to help our communities to develop their products. And if you look at the 4 key areas identified by the tourism ministers in Mpumalanga, in the Mpumalanga Declaration, they talk about digital innovation, they talk about tourism financing and investments. And now I'm bringing this conversation because now in this area we find ourselves in Lusikisiki. What needs to be done? Develop our products, first of all. That's how we prove our offerings. And when you develop your product, take what you have. If there's one thing that you please go away with from this engagement, look at your beautiful landscapes, your meals. There's an app that tourists can actually book to come have dinner at your home. Did you know about that? Instead of eating at a hotel, they can come and have umngqusho, nenyama, nedombolo in Lusikisiki. There's something that we came about when we realized with Prof here, cannabis tourism. There's something like that. So now going back to your question in closing, to prove, you first have to develop, own that which you have. It's yours and only you can offer it, and it can only be experienced in Lusikisiki. That's how now you can ensure that you talk about sustainable tourism, that it's inclusive, that will provide jobs, we reach that equality and equity, and also it can ensure that the youth and the women of Lusikisiki can participate in the value chain of tourism. Call the establishments that are here. Where are they getting their ingredients from in their services? Are they using the local community to own up the value chain?
Dr. Jalel, how can we use agricultural research to build resilience for rural communities that are facing erratic rainfalls?
Thank you very much. Maybe before I answer that question, it's safe to say, as scientists or academics, there's one thing that we have been doing wrong, but I'm glad, the G20, DECO, and other stakeholders are changing that mindset. There is no way that you can solve community challenges if you're sitting in an air-conditioned office in Pretoria, because you don't know what is happening on the ground.
Yes.
So it is critically important. And there's a question that has been asked several times, and it's really bothering me. And we are asked, whose research agenda are we addressing? In other words, whose problems are we addressing? It seems like we are addressing our own problems. And therefore, I'm saying that in answering the question, to say the best is to get to the ground and understand challenges that communities are experiencing. There's a myriad of challenges that have been mentioned, and also opportunities, by the way. cannabis being one of them. And as I was engaging with my colleagues, there is a huge opportunity. And by the way, I prefer to be practical as opposed to be theoretical.
Yeah.
And please bear with me in lengthening sometimes my answers. Is that we have got curriculum that is over 100 years, and problems have changed. Hence, we are not making programs in addressing the recent challenges. And it is therefore crucial, among others, to develop material, including the short learning programs, that will look at production of cannabis, both in terms of quality and quantity. The same is true. There's been a challenge that has been posed to us in terms, there is land, but there is no coordination in terms of grazing management systems. Fencing, it's expensive, it's a reality, and therefore there is a system called heading, where you do not have to spend millions of money to have a coordinated grazing management system, but you can head, because you would have done your baseline in terms of your field condition assessment. You know how many animals can be kept where for how long, and you use people to head animals for a period of time. Where I'm going with this thing is, our research, one, should be based on addressing core challenges on the ground and what the community's problems are. And in closing, there are some of the main problems that are happening here. One, there's an issue or there's an issue of school food nutrition. Who's providing the food? Mm-hmm. This area, it has got very fertile soil. On the one hand, there's high teenage pregnancy, there's high crime, there's high unemployment. On all these things, at the center of them is young people. Mm-hmm. Yet there are this opportunity. All that I'm saying, all the different stakeholders, ourselves as UNISA included, is that we should come up with research that solve real life challenges. And we have been given a mandate and marching orders. There is land, and I'm sure through proper channels, we can be able to get land where we can have an experimental farm, such that we do science that addresses problems. But instead of being theoretical, we show, the young people, even those who are interested in farming, young and old, in terms of how to do the do's and the don'ts, basically. So I'm trying to just give a holistic answer to your question that you posed.
You spoke about the practicality of what we are saying. Now I'm going to put Mr. Langa's head on the block. Somebody sitting here as a community member might be asking themselves, how does this concern me? Labantu bahlezi bakhuluma isiNgisi nani. Mr. Langa, in your view, in what ways can communities or local communities benefit directly from conservation efforts and that are linked to climate action?
Okay, I'm actually touched by what you just said now about the language issue, because it might be one of the challenges that some of our people are facing. But with regards to that, all right, thank you. With regards to that, part of the program, part of what we are doing in the program, we've got what we call capacity building. Now, in our capacity building, we actually we categorize it. We've got traditional leadership, that is capacity building that is geared towards traditional leadership. We've got capacity building that is geared towards the communities. Now, with the communities, we've got the committees. We call them the community conservation committees. And with that, it's not only that. We go as far as the schools. We've got the environmental education space within the project. What we're trying to do in that, we're trying to make sure that, one, when we develop these, let's say what we would call, for a lack of a better word, a module to deliver to the traditional leadership, we first of all sit down with them and we find out what are the challenges that we can address with regards to conservation and within in the space of the biodiversity offset that we are within. Then we get those, then we sort of like package that, and we make sure that it talks to them. I'll give you one or two examples. We've been to Babanango in KZN, Babanango that's in Pongola, We've been to, Babanango is hereby on your way to Ulundi. We've been to Somkanda, I meant to say Somkanda, next to Pongola, with some of the traditional leaders and the CCC members. Why? Because we want them to actually see that when you have conserved your area, like a nature reserve, because some of the people have opted in the stewardship process, they have opted for nature reserves. So if you want to have a nature reserve, let's take you to Somkanda, because it's a community-run project. See for yourselves that it's actually something that can be done. Recently, there is an investment of 2.8 billion at Babanango for those Butelezi family people. It's community-run, so we actually want them to understand that it can be done, this thing of conservation, and it can actually talk to the challenges that are on the ground. I wanted to give one more example, but it's just slipped off my mind now. I wanted to give one more example that is very practical with regards to this. For instance, we take some of them to ECPTA's game auction occasions, where they can actually see for themselves that if the people of Mboki, they say, we want to introduce game. If the people of Msikaba, for instance, Msikaba, Lambasi, and Kwatahle, they say we want to introduce game. So we want this to be a real benefit to them, that if we conserve these areas, there are actually realistic or real benefits that we can derive from conservation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lang. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. I'm going to invite Dr. Makwena to come and facilitate the question and answer. As you prepare to ask those questions, let's give them a round of applause.
Molweni. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Are we tired? Okay. I work for the University of the Land. Before I can get to the business of the day, let me take this opportunity to say that our applications are still open. If you want to study in 2026 with us, we still have until the 19th of December to take your applications through. I have colleagues on that table. Just wave your hand. Ask them questions, they will assist you. And you don't have to come to our offices. You can do everything online. Thank you. The business of this session is that this is a session where we are bringing together all of our strength. We are going to move from ideas to action. I'm sure most of you sitting where you are asking yourself, how do we put together what the academics are saying, or what government is saying, or what industry is saying? How do we make it work for us as communities? This is the opportunity that we have. We have 30 minutes allocated, and I want to open up this session for you to ask questions to our experts here. We have seen we've got from agriculture, tourism, economic development, and environmental sciences. So we have a wide range of sectors here that we can learn from. I think we can take maybe 6 questions at a time, and then we can open up. I see hand, I'm not sure who is assisting me with the roving mics, so that we can cover all the areas around the room. Recognized, you say, we'll take 1, 2, 3, ma'am, 4, 5, and 6 at the back. Thank you.
Am I audible? Yes. Thank you very much. I don't know if I call you chair, or there's chair and chair of chairs, or how do I do this, but greetings to everyone. And greetings to everyone, Olapa, to the panelists, my name is Luandi Lektume. I am from the business sector. I serve in Ngoza Hill Business Chamber as a secretary and also serving the Wild Coast Business Chamber, which includes the corridor from Port St. John's up until Umtamvuna River. I'm saying this chair of the session so that if in Tate Klesha you know that I'm carrying so much from the belt, but I'll try to be short. I'd like to comment perhaps and ask questions taking into consideration both the theme which talks about the financial inclusion, creating access to benefit the grassroots economies, and also comment in relation to the effects of climate change and taking it home to our region or to us. I want to confess that years back, I think it was in 2011, when COP17 was in Durban, and it's a discussion about the climate change. I didn't know how it affects me. And I think many of us, climate change, what it is. But if you think about it now, and you try and contextualize it to our context, even if you are umlimi, even if you are farmer, it means that there's many things that we need to learn, relearn, and unlearn. Because there are patterns that we know, or there are indigenous knowledge systems that we have that says, you have to start ukulima because there is rain that is expected. Because there's no, but these days you find rain and a lot of it in winter, which means there is a great change, which means it affects our thinking and our doing. But I would like to know, Guti, how do we then switch the mindset of us here on the ground to say that the things that we knew or years back or decades back, they are now changing. It means that a winter you can start ulima. I also want to challenge our government to start thinking about how maybe we deal with planning infrastructure development, taking into consideration the climate change. We know our region is affected by what we call disaster, but if we can anticipate it, is it still disaster? Can we start planning and start designing our infrastructure development to sustain or to inyamezele imeko esizibona siphila phansi kwazo these days? I want to say, Chair, summarily, maybe we need to also start to think about how do we fund infrastructure development in areas like Inguza or Artambo and rural development in its entirety. Because, Chair, if you're relying on the municipal grants, Umeya is always crying in our context. Uguti, there is no way that he can fulfill the development, the infrastructure development of our region. But we continue. We're talking about tourism. We're talking about agriculture. But the issue of access to those areas, the attraction areas, I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that anything in Tanda, the road from Umtata to Port St. John's or to Lusikisiki, you've seen nothing. There's still a lot of good attraction areas. But to access those areas, it means that we need more investment from government to say, how do we get to Elambasi, Ezansi, Siyofika Lwandle, Msigaba? So those are the issues that we're having, because if the access is so poor, then how do you attract investment to the region? Because that's the problem that we are having. So we're saying we need to even send a message to G20 partners to say, even as private businesses, as government and everyone, you can come partner and try and sustain rural development in our region. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chairperson of the session. My name is Kwezi Lizolile Mahlamvana. I come from Inguza Hill Business Council. I also represent Flex of SMMEs. Chairperson, I think mine will also be more a comment and questions at the same time. But before I start, when the panelists started presenting, it reminded me of the words that were once said by one of our chiefs, Chief Diliza Ndabankulu, at some point, of which it might not directly deal with what we are dealing, but will give an idea of how the status quo is. He was talking on something that is totally differently related. He was more talking about the issue of constitutional development and the current political dispensation. He had, and I quote, obviously things have changed for the better, with a government that is more in touch with the people and which respects their dignity. My people do not have sound knowledge of the constitution because there was insufficient education to accompany the change in our country. So while I believe the government has very good intentions, change has not really filtered down to the people, close quote. The biggest problem that I have always seen is that whilst government creates a platform for development and engagement on various issues and develop laws that will transform society, one of the issues that we are still lacking in is core engagement and involvement of communities. There is still a gap that needs to be bridged between those whom are creators and makers of the laws and those whom are scholars, with those whom are very basic, from the poorest and the most basic rural communities. So that whilst those whom are scholars are able to assist in transforming society and building a world that we would like to see and conserve what needs to be conserved, those whom are at the grassroots that need to be part of the transformation and the change have core understanding of what is happening. Prof had said at some point in his discussion that you cannot deal with things in isolation, or you cannot deal with climate. I think it was either Mr. Lang, I'm not too sure, but one of the panelists made a statement that you cannot deal with issues of climate change in isolation, which means that climate change is an issue that deals or affects and requires each and every participant to play an equal role and know and understand what becomes the pros and cons of them being able to play their role or failing to play their role in climate change. Now, there was an issue also that was raised of going back to basics or doing the things that our forefathers have been doing. But the question that comes into mind to me is that, with that being said, is it still is as easy as it is while it was done back then now under the current situations that we are faced with? There are many things that we have noted as transformation has come into place and as new scholars come with new ways of doing things that limit the basic ways of doing things, that makes even the basic ways of doing things to be much more expensive than the current modern ways of doing things. How do you then go to match the two in order for them to be able to go hand in hand with what we are seeing the society transforming into? My colleague had spoken about the issues that affect the basic things like the basic programs that are meant to be dealt with, or that are, let me put it this way, climate change has a total bearing in infrastructure development. And without infrastructure, we cannot be able to create an economy that we've envisaged to be creating. There's a wearing down of the current infrastructure that we have. And at the same time, we are unable to build a sustainable new infrastructure, because whilst we're still trying to build, there is that one that is wearing out that still needs to be looked at. All right. Okay, I'll come in. I'll try and keep it short. So how do you then go to say that these are the things that we need, or these are the things that we can be able to employ and look into in order for us to deal with the issue of climate change, and speak to the people that are at the grassroots of the value food chain, or at the most basic level. And lastly, the issue of public participation and public engagement. One would go at some point to confuse the issue of resistance being the issue of defiance of transformation, but when those whom are charged with the responsibility of engaging, especially the chiefs, the communities, and the leaders of society, on each and every step of the way of engagement, yet they take it at the ceiling level, iyenze lonto into kubana kube ngathi abantu in the communities are resistant to change, kanti abekho involved in each and every, hence the issue yaseXholobeni and all other places ezimisiweyo. It's not because we do not want to see transformation, it's not because we do not want to see things happening, but the manner in which it is brought to us isenzela into yokubana singakwazi ukuba sibe active participants. It's like decisions are taken for us without us. Kanti if you involve us and take these sessions to the communities, you'll be able to see quite a lot of change.
May I please request that you be short and brief. Don't give a lecture, ask a question, please, because of time. Thank you. Who is number 3?
There. Thank you. 2 minutes.
Yo, molweni. Ndivele ndixakeke noma ndizoqala ngaphi xa uvele unikwe imizuzu emibini. Mandizibulisele kakhulu. Oh, hayi ke kuthiwa mandingabi sabulisa. Into ebendisukumela ukuyitsho ke mna ke. Uqala pha kuxa wam bese ndifuna ukwehla. Ndithanda ukwehla nayo because ube kulomba we-infrastructure. So nalo wesibini wathanda ukuyama kuyo. Ngoku ke ndirhalela ukwehla kancinci, kodwa ke ndiyarhalela ukuyiphosa into noba incinci. Ngoba kaloku ukho lo tata upha ekuqaleni owe-agriculture. Ndamthanda ke xa izothi kuba sidla ngoba ii-trees ezi zibekwe zingaqondwa ngqo, wathetha nangemithi. Ndavuya ke xa itsho kanjalo. Ndithanda uba ke ndiyimise le nto ithi kulo mcimbi une-infrastructure kwicala lemithi uba ungake uconsiderishwe nawo. Uba ndiphume ecaleni ke bazondixolela abantu sizophosa apha siyayiqala nale nto. Kodwa xa sibiziwe siyi-community siye sifuna uba masizigadlele uve na uba nditshilo noma ndiphume ecaleni, kodwa ukhona ozoyibona uba ilungelele nantoni le nto lo mntu ebezama ukuyithetha. Kodwa xa sekuziwe ukuthi ngolu hlobo sifuna niyazi uba sizi-primary producers ekubanzima, kodwa uba izinto xa sekuthiwa processing zize ukuthi zive ziyoproceselwa kwezinye indawo. Nasi isililo sethu ke thina siyi-community. The only thing we want ukuba as basi-producer when it comes to processing mayike ize utsho kamandi wathi kwasemthatha kwaphi, kodwa siba bokuqala xa kusafuna ii-primaries apha eNgqozi, but i-processing ithathiswe kwezinye indawo. I don't want to mention uba like what and what, but I just want to consider that. Enkosi.
Uvathe kakhulu. The next person. Uvathe kakhulu. It's the question of the value chain.
Thank you so much, facilitator.
Greetings to the panelists. Firstly, let me appreciate that we have chose our area for this engagement of G20, because sometimes we feel that we are left behind in terms of contributions, in terms of matters of economy, because of our area. Thank you. I have two questions. My name is Voyom Laza from Ingwe TVET College. I have two questions, Chair. My first question is, as the college or as the campus in this area, I saw in the panelists that there are professors and doctors from University of South Africa. Then what do you think, what strategies can we employ for us? What strategies do you think can help us as an institution in this area in terms of tourism and agriculture? Because sometimes we have ideas, but it makes it difficult for us to engage in matters of tourism and agriculture because of finances. What other strategies do you think can assist the institution, which is Ingwe TVET College? That's number one. That's number two. It's a question around the climate change. Mr. Nangamso from OR Tambo. What then becomes our responsibility as a community of Ingos as far as climate change is concerned? Because in our analysis, sometimes we see that we are found wanting in terms of the climate, because your response sometimes is seen as reactive rather than proactive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ndinguntomboxolo Bhikicha walapha eMqobothini. Hayi ndingubhikicha, sundibiza ungile. Ndinombuzo omnye, umbuzo wam usingise kumasipala. Umasipala waseNgquza kukho i-wetland yokuqala nantsapha ecakwethu apha edolophini. Ndikhana ukwazi uba nenzani, yeyiphi into eyiproject ekhoyo in terms of development yokureconstructa le wetland. Linked to that, into yokokubana kule wetland kulapho nifumana khona ilala. Eli lala leli lisetyenziswa ngabantu balapha ukwakha amahluzo, ukwakha izitya. Ingaba kukho eyiphi iplani? Okwesithathu, into yokokubana kukho imizi kwalapha kule wetland. Le mizi le isetyenziswa ngabantu balapha eNgquza. Into yokokubana bakhe izithebe, bakhe amakhukho and all. Ndicela ukubuza ezumasipala kumxasiphi for that. Sithi ke ngosakugqiba nitsho nibe nexesha enisinika lona ezabahlali into yokokubana kanye kanye senzani, because there is development kule nto ndithetha ngayo ekufuneke siyenzile. Enkosi.
Ndiyabulela, nguPhila Chingana. The one behind.
Yeah, Cosy Program Director. Mandi observe a protocol as well, and Lusikisiki no mayor. Ngumzukulwana kaTata uNcoyini, ndingunzamela ndisuka ePort St Johns. Kodwa apha ndimele iWild Coast Business Chamber. Let me start perhaps with a preamble that says, it would have been my wish uba planning ube lapha mhlawumbi at the district level. ARC ube lapha to share some knowledge as well. Or ARC ngu Agricultural Research Council. Kusiso lapha ecakwami manje ndisebenzela kaMandi. Chair, ndiqala pha ku Mr. Langa. Just to check uba xa sisithi iMkhambathi has been declared as Ramsar site, which is wetlands of international importance. Is the municipality, be it local or a district, aware of the value adding of that declaration? Are they aware, Uguti, how should they then plan for this coastline? And what kind of investment they are likely to attract? Kusithiwa iMkhambathi has been declared as a Ramsar site. Okwesibini ke, xa kusithiwa sine protected areas apa, what does it say and how does it change our planning as well? Two, Chair, climate change is twofold. One, it is the contributing factors with climate change, because we are in it because of reckless waste management practices, which then says that we should address those, because we're in this mess because of as practices which were done 68 years before us. Now, if we continue with those practices, it means that we are not resolving the problem. And then the second one will be addressing lento sesikuyo in terms of planning, which has been addressed by quite a lot of people. Business ke, ndingumuntu wadeclarisha into yokuthanda imali. We expect academics ukuthi kube studies that have been carried out already, especially about the opportunities in this coastline. Okay. That one, with regard to marine resources, what is available and what are the opportunities? Two, with regard to minerals, what is available? I will cite an example. There was Ushel Apa, Obenze application for re-exploration of gas and oil. And some stakeholders who do not necessarily represent the wild coast, they chased Ushel away. Government was unable to stand and defend that position. That is one. Academics were nowhere to be found as resource people to say, lento ithethwa ngabelungu bayimingqandandana ayiyiyo, nazi studies. This is how the exploration will affect the environment. And this is the practice elsewhere in the world. So I'm saying how I wish academics could come to the fore as well to provide resources, because they are the ones who are resource people. And this uthi lo sisi manti xa ndizohlala benzawuthi sendihleli. Wild coast is not called a wild coast for nothing. Before kube climate change, there were disasters as a wild coast, which means we would have planned differently. And government would have sponsored funding nangaphezu kwezinye indawo ezingenazo disasters. So how I wish politicians could actually come to the fore to say, how do we then influence national government to put more money a wild coast so that we can deal with as disasters zenzeka up. Lastly, usisi uyasixelela ukuthi i-tourism ukubaleka kwayo kungakanani. But ubane worry for those of us who are involved with tourism industry. Crime is the biggest hindrance to into tourism. You will not attract valuable tourists in this region with the level of crime the way it is. Enkosi Chair.
Thank you so much, Pilar. Kukho umntu olahle kwesisixixo se-VW esine key holder ye-VW. Umntu osifumanele ngicela zasisepha ku-chairperson ngaphambili.
Thank you, Ngupila Chingana. I'll be very quick. Ungahlala phansi, sis please. So, Dingo Deputy Coordinator Kasaik Ngoza Hill, abantu abatsha presented kule summit G20. But now one of the things endihalela into okokuba Professor ungene kuzo xa uxoxayo are more agricultural. Because one, we had a crisis back in 2018, which that crisis is still there. Apho imimbona yeli cala lomhlaba wamampondo ubuye wanganiki i-produces ezinhle. Then when OR Tambo District Municipality investigated the matter, amongst which it was found that umhlaba wethu kweli cala le affectekileyo lacked in nitrogen. So with that being said, how do we prepare umhlaba ubuke walala ungasetyenziswa? How do we prepare that soil to bring back the produces? One of the things that we resorted on was to plant soybeans, which we believed that it would be tracking the nitrogen from the atmosphere. If you can just respond to that one, I think will be sorted because that problem still hails. Thank you.
Thank you. Nafkok. Matigis.
Thank you very much for the questions. I believe the panel has, last one.
No, thank you very much, Chair. It may not be a necessary question in the interest of time. It could be a way of a package for further interrogations. One part of mitigating factors for climate change is the migration from meat consumption to a plant-based diet. And then what is a plan that the College of Agriculture can assist us in terms of redesigning a particular curriculum so that it assists the schools? And then number two, maybe this one, as part of an alternative, is walking and cycling. And then if there is high crime in the area, how do we strengthen that particular exercise? The last one, the migration from the current mode of transport to the hybrid or electric vehicles. What is the plan in terms of the infrastructural development plan that the municipality at district level is having? So as a countermeasure going forward, so that at least we are not caught found wanting. Thank you very much.
Can you hear me now? Okay, sorry about that. Thank you very much for the questions. I was saying to the panel that there is quite a lot of questions that were asked, and I believe they've captured all of them. But what I've picked up from the questions is the issue that all of the panelists also raised, the issue of collaboration. How do we work together as different sectors to address societal problems? Let me hand over to the panel to see who will take the first responses. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I'm not sure if I'm audible. Otherwise, guys can come and help me.
Yeah.
Enkosi ndakhulela kwaGangatha ndizazi izinto. Umbuzo ndicela nje ukuhlomula kancinci nje just for 1 minute. Comment on one of the I think it was a comment that was raised by Ubhuti Paiqaleni with regards to community involvement in what we're doing. It is quite critical. It is quite critical that we make sure that in the projects that we bring to the people, the concepts that we bring to the people, but we make people walk the talk and talk the walk. In other words, we involve them in every step of the way. I cannot overemphasize that. if I were to give the history of how we have traversed with regards to the N2 Wild Coast Biodiversity Offset, it would actually give that kind of impetus that it's actually very important. Then coming to the questions that were directly to ECPTA, Kambati, about the knowledge of the municipality. I am part at ECPTA, I'm part of the panel that is planning the occasion that is going to be taking place. Now, in my understanding is that the whole occasion is being planned by the national department. However, there are people from the grassroots levels, like ourselves, that are part of that, and there is a committee that is busy communicating with the local municipalities, the district municipalities, the kingdoms, and so forth and so on, to make sure that they are aware, they take them on board with regards to that. So that's, I'm not sure if I answered it correctly, Kumakoba. But then what kind of investment that can be associated with that? There is, when an area is declared as a Ramsar site, it's sort of like it's elevated or it's escalated to an international level of recognition. Now, one of the things that is going to happen, obviously, is that there should be planning around Umkambati. There's going to be a lot of tourist attraction around Umkambati because of that, the Ramsar declaration that is taking place, not only locally, but from a global perspective. And also, if I can just say that just across Mkambati is Lambasi, there's also a push to make sure that Lambasi also enjoys the same status, because they've got almost more, I would say, more wetlands at Lambasi than at Mkambati. But because Mkambati is already a protected area, so the status was not very difficult to be declared that it should enjoy that status of being a Ramsar site. And then with regards to the protected areas, how it affects the planning. With regards to the N2 Wild Coast Biodiversity Offset, we from the local municipalities, that is Port St. John's, Inguza, and Winnie Madikizela Mandela, and also the district municipalities, we have our structured engagements, where we make sure that all these projects and all these protected areas, that is these deemed to be protected areas, because they are not declared as yet, even though they are in the process of becoming declared. But all of them, they are in the IDPs and all the other necessary documents for the municipalities to be aware, so that when the planning is done, it's not done, it's done in conjunction. It's done with alignment to that. So I would, I think that's how I would respond to that question with regards to planning and the protected areas. If there is a follow-up, then I can look into that, but I answered the way I understood the questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll take the questions, especially as related to climate change. In summary, it's only questions that talks to climate change, they interlinking and relate, and most probably they talk to issue of 1-2 keywords that I've kept on mentioning: integration and collaboration. I think singurhulumente sinexanduva loqinisekisa into yokubana asisebenzeli ezikoneni. Because even at an institutional level, you find a municipality that is made up of 5 departments: local economic development, infrastructure and service delivery, finance, and other departments. But you'll find that people who are responsible for infrastructure development, they go their own lane. People who are responsible for local economic development, they go their own way. There's a little bit of synergy in terms of what we're doing. And I think that requires for strong leadership that is going to make a big commitment towards climate change, because in reality, climate change ikhona and sizohlala nayo for ixesha elide. And the likelihood is that asizukwazi uyibuyisa umva. We are working towards what is called now adapting. Now that's the reality of climate change. How do we live better with it? So the question of leadership that stands and be strong towards ensuring that issue of climate change is not just a talk. A person who's working within the infrastructure departments must know about it. A person who's working for local economic development must know and respond to it through the project. Because no matter how much budget you will put into saying uzolungisa ezindlela ziya elambas, ngendlela imvula enetha ngayo, in terms of intensity and frequency, sinemvula evele inethe kakhulu and iyakhawulezisa iyaphinda-phinda. You are likely that will have those roads washed away if in your planning you didn't think about climate change. So collaboration and integration becomes a very critical element that we need to deal with here. Also, I think there was a question talking about us as, I think from, I'm not sure from Vuyo, if what is the responsibility of communities in terms of responding to the reality that we're facing right now. Ukona lento kuthiwa, it's more like local actions. Lento incinci uyenzayo ekhayini ungangayiqapheli uba inogalelo elingakanani at a global stage. For instance, let me make an example. Emakhayini wethu sonke xa kuphela inyanga siye edolophini and buy groceries. They come with packaging and everything. And we use the food, we eat the food, and we're left with plastics and cardboards and everything. What do we do with them? Siyawatshisa amaphepha, siwombela umnqunya, siwangcwabe egadini. It's those little actions ezifana nowatshisa amaphepha that contributes to the problem that we're facing. Unfortunately, Tina as a generation that is living now, sibhatala ityala that was made by people who lived before us, probably 50, 100 years ago. Because the carbon dioxide that we emit to the atmosphere, it takes years to be actually to be disintegrated in the atmosphere. It stays there for a long time. So at least what we should have a responsibility to do is to ensure that at least for the future generations we do better. There was a comment on that table. I think the last comment from NAVCOG that says masithethe indlela okwenza izinto sisuke kuthiwa masisuke enyameni siye ukutya okuveliswe emhlabeni uhlangabezana nale ngxaki sithanda ube siwokhe singasebenzisi imoto kakhulu because zonke izinto sizenzayo zi-emit i-carbon dioxide. And also the government has taken a lead in terms of transforming the vital manufacturing sector. Now you find increase slowly of hybrid cars that use fuel and electricity that are charged, and slowly moving towards the future, probably get to that area. And also one other key thing is, as Amagosa sometimes we'll always find ourselves in the corner, because there's a big debate that as a country that we need to engage on. The transformation of our legislative regime to talk to the issues of our people at the current stage, whether we inherited it to the previous government, we need to ask ourselves, is it helping us now? If you link it with the issue of exploration of shale in the Wild Coast, and the people that are said to be the minority that were representing interests that are not looking like they were of the community. But those people have a bearing in the Constitution. Section 24 of the Constitution gives everyone the right to enjoy environment that is protected and not harmful. But there must be measures that we put in place, because we go around and go around, but one will say what the Constitution is saying. So our democracy, it needs to be guided such that indlela esikrafta ngayo imithetho siyijonge uba is it talking to abantu bethu ngokwezindawo bahlala kuzona. So I think I'll end it there.
Thank you once again. I must confess, these are very tough questions. And I'm saying tough not because I cannot answer, but because these are challenges that we are faced with on a daily basis. But what I'm happy with is because we're honest, because one way of resolving problems is to become honest with ourselves. And where we do not have answers, we must see to it that we do something about it. By so saying, I'm upfront saying that we don't all have solution at this moment. But let me get on with it. Maybe the best thing to start is to say, I'm very happy to be part of UNISA, mainly because when I joined UNISA, one of the documents that I was given to familiarize myself with was what our, Vice Chancellor and Principal, Prof. Linkabula, has came up with, which are 10 catalytic niches. Basically, these are marching orders to us as academics to say, the world has evolved. The problems that we have now, what we used to do may not be relevant. And it is for that reason that she came up with a number of interventions. Among others, I'll touch on them because they were raised. One of them is marine studies, to develop, curriculum degrees that focuses on, fisheries, aquacultures, and you name them. This is so that we are relevant. And one speaker mentioned that where are the academics with data that informs, policy decision making? And it is for that reason, among others, that she and her executive came up with this kind of intervention. And the other is aviation and aeronautical studies. This includes things like drones. One of the questions was about accessibility. If you look at the landscape here, you can see how beautiful it is, but at the same time, how difficult it can be to access some of the areas. And that is where, digitization and fourth industrial revolution are coming from. And in fact, there are some of the degrees that are in the process of being, approved by the Department of Higher Education. And this is in the main so that we can be relevant to current problems. But specific to some of the questions that were mentioned, the first speaker, in the main, it was a comment, but there were two issues that he mentioned. One was the fact that we are now experiencing winter rainfall as opposed to summer rainfall, even though we are in a summer rainfall area. And how we should therefore respond to that is there are, meteorologists that we can partner with and look and forecast at, rainfall, for the coming 10 years or whatever the period. But this is so that we can then be able to be ready to switch from summer crops to winter crops in case where, we are predicting to have winter rainfall. And the one way of dealing with it, of course, is to adapt and mitigate it. At the same time, there was an issue about, waste management, recklessness that led us to this. So whilst we are dealing with challenges that have been created many years ago, the question is we can't stop living, and therefore we need to adapt to the current, challenges. The second very important point was the issue of access, which I highlighted what UNISA is responding, and there was a question again about what are you doing as academia. The second speaker from the Business Council spoke about very important issues, which talks to, in my understanding and interpretation, is as academic institutions, for many years, we have been producing theses and scientific papers that are very good, and in fact, that some of them are solutions to our problem. But the question then is, do communities have access to such information? Second question is, are they packaged in a way that somebody who may not be learned would understand such? And the question is no. And all that I'm saying is we do accept some of the things that we need to change so that we can be accessible and do research that is packaged in a way that communities can understand and implement. And it is for that reason it is important for us to be visible even in areas like Lusikisiki. If we have a satellite campus here, for instance, with an experimental farm or an innovation hub, we are then going to be accessible two communities with this kind of questions. And this is so that not we can answer theoretically, but we can demonstrate that this is how things should be done and this is how they've been done, and support that with data, which is important. The other very difficult question, but it's a very good question, is based on my earlier comment during the discussion about tapping into some of the indigenous knowledge systems that we were using. And the question was, how do we then merge what was used then to the now? Because things have changed, and that's a reality. But I think for me, what is important is that yes, things have changed, and some of the things may have worked. And I gave an example, for instance, of some of the indigenous crops or even forages. I mean, the reality is that there are indigenous forages, either grasses or legumes, from the perspective of livestock production, that have withstood the erratic rainfall and drought or floods. But that's where, again, issues of biotechnology can come to the fore, because that means that there are genetic traits that we can harness from these indigenous crops and or animals, which can then be, the genetics and breeding aspects on both animal and plants come in to improve both the resilience or the hardiness, but at the same time not decreasing or compromising productivity in both ways of crops and animals. So these are some of the things in reality that we are faced with, and our indigenous crops and animals that have withstood, this, could come in. And the same is true even with cannabis. I mean, it's one of the crops, cannabis and hemp, which are very critical in this part of, the Eastern Cape. And that could be used with, or for medicinal, or as feed for animal, or even for pharmaceutical. And the reason why I'm saying that, I know that this may sound theoretical, but it addresses the issue of value chain. Because it is true that we are producing these things, but where money is made, it's down the stream. It is not from the primary producers. But who stops us from ensuring that through collaboration with academia, ourselves included, the business who are raising this critical issue, the municipality, government, we come together and say, what are our challenges? And what is it that we can start off with as a priority? Because we can't do everything at a go, because funding is also, limiting. All that I'm saying is that this requires, triple P, public-private, participation. And it is so true, one of the points that has been made, that we may think that communities are defiant. But who is at fault? It's ourselves. Because we are doing these studies, but the very same solution are not reaching the communities. All that we do is to publish papers and so on and so forth. I am hammering on ourselves because we need to change so that we can address this kind of issues. I don't know when to stop. Please signal if I were to stop.
I can go on. That's why I allowed you to speak first. Tourism must be built with communities, not imposed on them. So when we talk about the issue of crime, the community, you have to take the matters in your own hands. You are missing out on an opportunity. They always say that it is recognized globally for its potential and significant contribution to economic growth. It's a given. Someone knows someone who's involved in crime. It's not something that an outsider can come and solve. So the community needs to understand what are they missing out on the participation of tourism, on the participation of developing those walking and cycling trails. So we need to learn and unlearn and really mobilize our communities to understand what are they missing out by not catching those internationals that are just passing by for one night and not coming here and maybe one of the reasons being crime. When I was reading through the tourism master plan of the Eastern Cape, it is indeed included that crime is one of the biggest challenges, or rather the weaknesses of the province in growing your tourism capacity. But my question back to you as a community is that what are you doing about it? Who's going to solve it for you? You need to start now mobilizing and say, how to ensure that we put our local police, local communities, someone has to sacrifice something for it to change. And I'm throwing it back at you as different forums that are sitting in here to say, we are missing out. What are we going to do about it? You are your own solvers of the challenges that you are facing. Forums, local community forums, local police. So you need to sit together and say, how do we solve the challenge in order for us to catch the tourist, in order for us to ensure that we open up that viable tourism environment that we can participate and be economically free. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to the panel. I have a request. There are two people that needs to make a comment. With your permission, can we give them a chance to do that? There is a comment from NAFCOC and there is a comment from the table of the traditional leadership. If we can just allow them, please. Thank you.
Another offer from the panel is that they will be available during lunch. Those of you who still have questions, you are free to engage with them during lunch. And those questions that have not been answered, they are willing to engage with you during that time. Thank you.
Thanks, Program Director. My name is Pumelele Matigiza from NAFCOC, ORTAM. I would have wanted to raise a number of issues, but they have been raised, I'm covered. There's one issue that I wanted to raise here, is that because the point around which we are engaging, namhlanje, is G20. G20 is a platform for dialogue, economic at macro level. But for a reason, that we appreciate as NAFCOC, is that it is extended to include us at this level of micro and medium economic practitioners. That's a great, it's not something we need to take for granted. But we want to carry on with this dialogue. If we can find a window of representation, even at this 11th hour, to participate in that dialogue, give us 6 names to present, so that the area we represent, Chairperson Baungungu, the area between Mtamvuna and Kai River. That area is extremely vast, is extremely neat area insofar as intervention is concerned. That's what we ask. It's been, one of the reasons why the ANC took the resolution against the unipolar world is that we must be alive to that reality all the time, not sometimes. So our engagement will be centered around that, so that when we talk climate change, we understand its goals insofar as we are concerned, both as South Africa and as Africa is concerned. And appreciate Mamu Mayor, indoba kule short space of time nikwazile ukuyi hosta lento for the ORTAM, because we are now talking upper see ORTAM was not Tibana Penguza. If Nguza was not as ready as led by you, we wouldn't probably have had this opportunity. Much appreciated. That's the point I wanted to raise, Chairperson. Thank you.
Mantata le advantage uba le mic kule tafini ndiqolise kakhulu. Mamu Mayor, we appreciate
that niyihostile. But we are also disappointed that a region is not here represented. A province is not here represented. You know, I got a call from my son, also schooling. Now, andikwazi umbamba apha efowunini ndiyamfotela as flags. What came to his mind is that ndikwi-G20 enabantu abanezinye countries. I couldn't say no. I said yes. I lied to him. Because ucinga indoba, you see, what we normally see on TV, this is what is happening to us now. Let us not reduce it to nothing. And yet, we always appreciate and want to watch when it is on TV. Normally, when it comes to South Africa or in our country, the president opens it. And you go undermine the mayor, but I want us to understand that we are in the Transkei region. Maybe that makes other people bangayi understand indoba when we have problems enquzi, problems KSD, Konyandini, we need to unite and fight sonke ngexesha elinye. Singazi divide indoba mna ndisenquzi. I-problems zethu ziyafana. I was expecting indoba mhlawumbe umuntu wakwa tourism ukhona kule panel okuhulumente. Umuntu wakwa transport ukhona kule panel okuhulumente, because we don't have a network to our amalwandle wethu, so that he can tell us indoba kuzoze kube nini sihamba kwi-gravel road for tourism. How do we get access to emalwandle? But if we are all alone here, problems cater to the wrong people, this thing is gonna be sorted. Thank you very much.
Bengicela ngokwesicelo uba abantu beKingdom bangasenzeli into yenziwa nguNafCoco bakuthiwa iphaya imic. I think umnye umuntu odelegate weba makathethe on behalf of eso structure, because asu addresswa ngumuntu apha.
Chief Whip, my name is Mangcwatshwa, and I'm not going to disappoint you. Only one Mangcwatshwa will speak. My son is far away to second me, so there's only one Mangcwatshwa in the house. It's just two questions, and thank you for the privilege. It's just two questions that I want to pose to the panelists. The first one is to the environmentalists. Are you able to quantify the amount of carbon dioxide that is consumed by these wetlands in terms of whatever research that is available? The second one, I wanted to direct it to the professor, but the professor is outside the venue now. But nevertheless, I'll continue to ask that question because there are other academics that are present inside which will respond to the question. Well, thank you, Professor, for coming in. I have this question which you may attempt to answer on behalf of the academics. The G20 summit, for it to change the quality of life for the local community, it must speak and support local economic development. And local economic development is about us, local communities, producing whatever that we are capable of producing locally. Now, there's a lot that is produced here. And we made an undertaking on behalf of the king that the land resources available for development so that the lives of the people from this region is improved. Now, when there are activities of local economic development, you find that government will say, we have a preferential procurement policy. Because if those products or the produce is not going to be bought or consumed, then the impact is nil. Now, government has a preferential procurement policy which encourages government institutions to procure from local producers. But from where we are seated, that is not helpful because, you know, this thing about corruption is so endemic. When there is local produce, the consumers would prefer to buy from those where they are going to be, those who are in charge of procuring, would prefer to buy from those who will be able to give them something, tips, you know. And if you are a producer and you're not able to tip, then there's going to be a problem. Don't you think that the time has come for government to take it a step further and legislate that it must be an act which is developed to say it is a must for government institutions to procure from local producers? Because if we are going to talk about sustainability, we have Magwa tea that is next door. It produces one of the best teas in Africa. But that tea is not fast in terms of distribution because government institutions are not using that tea. It is only used by private consumers. And if there was an act which says government institutions and department must procure locally before they move out, we would not be having a problem in terms of sustaining projects like Magwa and other projects. So I had those two questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Prof, would you like to respond?
Thanks for the questions. And once again, these are very critical questions that we are faced with. And let me agree with you that what we have delved in for most part of the morning, it's at a primary production. And your question is, what's next? Because this will not, cut it. That is true. And you gave a good example with Makwati. And I was saying, but this tea is nice. Why haven't I seen it elsewhere? And the reality is, these are some of the challenges that we should bring in government. And I was asking Dr. Tong to say, there are very critical questions and comments that are coming from this public participation. How are they going to get to the main event so that some of these questions can adequately be looked at, not just to be addressed, to make us feel better? Because we would like to see change. I cannot agree more with you, Doctor, that this is one of the very critical issues, and I don't have an answer to that because, one, I've mentioned the school nutrition programs. There is millions, if not billions, that are spent, but none of the small-scale farmers are their produce are not getting there. And the same will be true to hospitals and correctional services. You can mention a number of government facilities, yet there is this gap. And that can be unlocked at a high level. And I think it is one of the issues that should really be addressed at that level. And let me pause here for now. But maybe let me take this opportunity. There was a question about maize production that went down. I'm going to ask to sit with a colleague so that we can engage further without wasting much time. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Doc. Let me talk to the first question, Doc, that you posed with regards to the calculation of the tonnage of the CO2 with regards to wetlands, grasslands, and forests. Yes, excuse me, scientists are able to do that. In fact, at the moment, we are working with CSIR because with all the areas that are going to be proclaimed from Kakuba to Kwamatiba, there is carbon sequestration, that is the carbon credits, which is one of the businesses that the communities are going to be exposed to. They are busy with that. And obviously the areas with more wetlands, because they say the more area, the more the area is covered by the wetlands, is the more the carbon sequestration that is available, that is absorbed, and that is available underneath. So they are able to calculate, Doc. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the questions and for the responses. We have seen how collaboration across our sectors can drive the G20 goals forward. Let me just take this opportunity to thank the panel for sharing their expertise with us and to thank all of you for your thoughtful engagement. Let me hand over back to the program director. Thank you very much.
Before the program director, I just want to encourage you to follow the G20 social media pages so you keep updated on what is happening during the G20. On Instagram at G20ORG. Instagram and X at G20ORG. On Facebook, G20 South Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Ndicinga ba izithethe bezi one amalungu epanel asenzele umsebenzi walula that abantu ababona uba baphendulekanga kakuhle will have a working lunch. Basondele phaa kubo for another clarity seeking questions. And ke i-reality leyo kuba bekungeke kuphenduleke wonke umuntu namhlanje. Funeka siyazi eyo into. Sawunyamezela kaneqweqwedisi kodwa yonke into ifuna into bayibe ne-guidance, uba inayo i-guidance ngene iphume khona nawuhlala okokoko kuba ukuthetha kuzala okunye ukuthetha mfoka Dlamini. So bafuna ngabantu uqokolelwa bamane benqanda. Kungakuya kufuneka kube khona umhlali ngaphambili xa ngaba kukhona into ekhoyo. And disrespect nabani na ngalonto. Kukhona umuntu ebebuze umbuzo apha sodolophi ngeissues zalapha eLusikisiki elinye ilungu elibekekileyo. Ndicinga uba kuphendulwanga kodwa there was no need for that because sikuma preparation G20 for today and there's no presentation that was made or done by Ngoza Hill local municipality. So sifune sibe nendlela yokohlula izinto ube into ethile uyibiza xa kuphi sibanazo IDPs nentontoni baba free to do so obo bantu because akho stakeholder kuyakuthi uyasibizwanga. So nalapho funeka singathatha ama chance kuba sidibene kanje. Ndibuye ndithi i-vote of thanks ngicela simameleni ngoba the more nixoxa is the more nizilibazisa ningakwazi ukutya. I-vote of thanks sizoyenzelwa nguMr. Surprise from Deco. Come forward, Mhlekazi. Emva kokonzoni announce uba ubani uyangaphi ubani uyangaphi ndinikhulule ngemva koko.
Ndiyabulela sihlalo, ndiyakubona ukuba ungathi hayi sowugwadile ke sihlalo. Bengithi nami uzandiphakamisa ngegwityo. Le ngoma sihlalo yekhongolo sendiyayithanda kuba mina ndingu-diplomat asoze ndicule le ngoma. Kodwa ke ndiyayithanda. Ndibulise umama wethu uMayor, ndibulise nekumkani. Mayor, I want to really appreciate you, and part of that, of course, is to respond to my brothers from NAFCOG, that this program was planned at a very short space of time. And I want to appreciate the mayor because
she had commitment. We had to request her formally yesterday. And of course, we had to withdraw her from her commitment. And that to me, that shows leadership. I want you to give her the big round of applause. When we started to conceptualize this framework of G20 with UNISA and of course our great partner led by Dr. Tong here on behalf of the VC, we took a decision that we are going to move around municipalities, not provinces. And you are correct that of course the framework of G20, the engagement, they are at a macro level. But it does not really serve anything because the president said to us, let's engage the grassroots. And that we are going to complete the process of outreach in this province, not just because it's the home of legends, but precisely because of this question of climate change, which yourself, as the district of OR, you will understand this better than anyone. And it is very difficult, Mayor, that the way you are appraised as a mayor of local municipality, which is very rural, you are appraised the same way with a mayor of a metro. In as much as the mayor of a metro generates capital, they don't necessarily have to rely to the grants that comes from National Treasury. Our obligation as the department, as we access global market, is to improve the profile of your municipality. And hence we have made a commitment that we are coming back here. I see that there's a lot of appetite. And of course, we are not going to conclude these discussions. I said to the mayor and the executive that next year when we deal with the post-G20, we will come back here. So that this does not come a question of a public relation exercise. And we'll have to expand our invitation to our brothers from NAFCOC. Ndiyavuya ukuba traditional leadership is here. That you are part of government, you are part of the process. And when we deal with the question of climate change, you know how it affects your subjects. And that's what makes me happy that at least you are working with the political leadership. And I want us to continue. Differences will always be there at a policy level, at a developmental level. It is expected. The president is going to host the summit next week, Saturday and Sunday. We are expecting all countries to participate in as much as we have received. I'm not quite sure that it's a formal thing from the United States, but it is unlikely that they will participate. But nonetheless, the G20 will continue for the first time in the African soil, hosted by our own president. And he has invited quite a lot of countries on the continent and beyond the continent. And we believe that we are going to have a successful summit. Our role, of course, is to access new markets within the Asian space and, of course, within the global south. And that is why we've got this responsibility of profiling municipalities like these on areas of development. You are improving in agriculture, you are doing so in tourism, so as in mining. The best that we can do is to support you, Mame. Thank you very much, abantu base Owartambo. Siantanda kakhulu. We'll come back here and we'll pitch that at a political level, either with the minister or deputy minister. We just wanted to understand the landscape, wanted to understand the concerns, so that we process them. They find expression in the plenary, in particular the question of the climate change, so that when we come here, we give you the report back, mobilizing ambassadors within the G20, so that we expose this municipality to the global stage. Thank you very much.
Quickly, Masi Choba, the councillors has called up, ESCO members, about 5 of them, 6 more mayor, Siabulela Kakulu, and other honorable councillors has called you. The Kingdom, thank you very much. Good delegation Kakumkani, Siabulela, Sinkosi Zezwela good. Nafkoko Siabulela Kakulu, Ama Koskazo, Kanyabafas Balapa Enguza, Siabulela, Ikwaya Yapawa Maspala, Engusika Kulu, Ikwezi, Ikwezi, Nasengus. Enkosi kakhulu business sector naba ono business basakhasayo istaff ebesenzela amalungiselelo singalali siyanibulela kakhulu nonke both I district and IHLM sibulela kakhulu subs led by Brigadier Waga oko siqale bekhona basekhona also I Department of Health nanke manager admin Mr Edgar phakathi kwethu bhala nesingababulelanga ipanel yethu thank you very much leadership siyabulela with the hope that no benibuye njengoba bekuchiwo into ukubana koba kuhluba nobuye ininzi into yasekho apha efuna iclarities nento bakunika mhlawumbe umkhombandlela here and there sawuxolisa ke kuba khona abantu akuthe kwakhona ugileka singazenzisi on behalf of institution land me egameni layo into ezokwenzeka I-leadership izongena pha kwi-holding room pha ibikhona Kingdom municipality Nafcock amakhosikazi akomkhulu bayazana musiba xa sisi structure ngubani leadership asive sihambe sonke I-leadership ingangu chairperson nonobhala nesekelo kanye no treasurer not sonke I-kingdom yona izawuya enjengoba injalo also our senior managers both with district nalapha kwi local no manager wa health okhona phakathi kwethu kule level bukhona we-district ochiwo ngokunjalo no brigadier nezinye ke inkokelo ezaziwayo into yokuba zisenior khange ke sibe nalo ithuba lento kokubana abantu bebefala ukuperforma mababe baperforma kangangoko but bekulixesha endicinga into kokubana even up to now ngexa kudliwayo ingenzeka lonto asina problem kuba loba practiceile abantu maybe the whole week yabo for that ndizawucela ke into kokubana
masivale namehlo alwaba ufefe nothando lwakho bawethu olungileyo lungahlala phezu kwethu sonke idibuye inkosi nguJesu amen